It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Emily Forlini from PC Magazine joins us. Doc Rock is here, Yanko Reckers, and lots to talk about. Yanko and Emily both wrote about Amazon's new AI A-word. We'll talk about that and why Siri may not get smart until 2027. Plus, it's the end of the line for an old favorite. All of that and more coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1021, recorded Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. Benito on high. It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show we cover the week's tech news. I have assembled a fabulous panel for you today. Doc Rock is here, our friend from Aloha, Doc Rock, from YouTube and Ecamm. It's good to see you.
Thank you, brother. Good to see you as well.
Wonderful to see you. It always is. Is it beautiful right now in Honolulu?
Yeah, today is good. The last couple of weeks have been a little weird, but today is flawless outside. So
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Emily Forlini is also here from PC Magazine, and
Hello.
You're in beautiful New Jersey.
I'm in the most beautiful place in the world. It's in the world,
It's the Garden State. Come on.
It's comparable to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's the Hawaii of the mid-Atlantic states.
It's definitely not the densest state in the union. It's definitely not, super built up outside New York. But
no, people I think have a bad impression of New Jersey because they look over the river and they see New Jersey and they go, ew. But really, it is the Garden State. There's beautiful farmland. It's beautiful.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a really, I would say, desirable place to live. So I'm happy here.
Good.
Yeah.
It's great to see you. Also joining us, Yanko Retkers. Yanko, are you in LA? Where are you located?
I'm in Oakland, Bay Area.
Oh, it's kind of the east. It's kind of the LA of the Northern California. Or no, there's no way.
I mean, sort of the East LA of...
Yeah, the East LA of
something
Oakland.
like that. Something.
Anyway, great to see you. Lowpass.cc is Yanko's newsletter. Of course, you remember him from GigaOM and I'm going to mention all the old places and Variety, and it's great to have you here on Twit this week. Did anybody, Emily, you were nearby? Did you go to the Amazon Echo event?
Yeah, I did.
I'm a little jealous. They don't stream it.
I know it felt cool. Like when they do that, it justifies me going there in person. So I kind of like that. But yeah, it was a big event and they had tons of execs there. Andy Jassy, the CEO, was there. So I thought that kind of said a lot on how important the event was to the company. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, I was.
No, we're into it now. This is it.
Okay.
So Panos Panay, who came from Microsoft, was the guy who kept saying how pumped he was about the new Surface devices. Did he use the word pumped at all?
So I didn't know the legend of Panos Panay. And so he walks on stage and he goes, "Remember the first moment that you asked Alexa a question. What a moment." And I was just sitting there by myself and I said in my head, this guy is a wacko. Like,
he's kind of emo.
Who is this guy? And I didn't know he was wearing jewelry. And I mean, I used to work at Amazon. So I was like, this guy is very not like cut from the Amazon cloth. And I was just trying to figure him out. So I wasn't on radar for the whole pumped thing. I was just taking in everything else that comes with this guy.
Good, which means you were paying attention to the important stuff, not our silly little game.
No, it would have been fun. I could have been in the whole pumped joke, but I was a total novice.
But you immediately got Panos's, and I shouldn't knock it, passion for the products. I think it was probably a smart move to hire him, since Amazon's lost billions on Echo over the last decade. This is the beginning of the next kind of era of. And I'm trying to avoid saying the A word, Alexa.
Yes.
Because I don't want to trigger anybody's device. But does anybody really have an Alexa in their house anymore?
I do.
We will find out.
I swear I don't talk to it.
I do, and it's a complete disaster. It's
right?
a disaster. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I was thinking about that the whole event, and I was just like, the big question is like, can they make Alexa cool again? And I didn't come away from that event feeling like an affirmative, yes, they can. It was just the typical voice demos on stage. But there were some things that were promising, like, okay, so I'll give them credit. It's interesting that it's going to be able to take actions for you. So instead of just doing, Alexa, set a timer, Alexa, play music, it should be more human-like. And then you can do things like, say, text mom, I'm on my way, or what else? They give so many examples. They had crazy ones like
you can call an Uber.
Get a mechanic to the house to fix my oven, and you can upload documents to it, like your kid's soccer schedule, and it'll remind you, like, hey, Jimmy, you're bringing oranges on Thursday. And so they just want to know everything about you, and then they want to be able to take actions for you, and that's their assistant vision.
Jennifer Patterson too was excited about that. She just reviewed a giant screen that does your family's soccer and lessons schedule and everything in the kitchen. Skylight. Thank you, Doc. You knew about Skylight.
Katie has one. Well, my manager at Ecam, she has one in her house, and I love it, and I kind of want one, but I don't know, like I just want one just because it looks really cool, and it does work. And,
so what I did? I'm an idiot.
Often responsible to pick up my niece or whatever. So
I ordered the 21-inch Amazon Echo. There's a 21-inch screen, which is basically like the Skylight. And because this is one of the new features of Alexa Plus is this, AI generated calendaring thing. By the way, it'll be $19.99 a month, which is a lot, unless you're an Amazon Prime member, and then it's free.
So nobody will pay $19.99 a month for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Prime is like $14 a month.
Exactly. I did the math. So it's $139 a year for Prime, and it's $240 a year if you get it on its own. So
who's going to do that?
It's a little fishy. I think either they'll increase the cost of Prime because it hasn't gone up since 2022, which is a lot's happened since 2022. We got inflation. We're in a whole new world. And then the other thing they could do is they could only add the coolest features to the paid version, like ChatGPT.
Yeah, there might be a difference. Yeah,
there might be a difference, and they were just trying to hype it and not make it so all the press people like me were harping on, the differences between the two. So they're just trying to be positive, but I think that we'll get more information about what's offered and where in probably the next couple of weeks or months.
I could see them offer it through Prime for maybe even a year or two, and then slowly start to separate those things.
Get you hooked.
Kind of like the same way they do it with Prime Video now. So you get Prime Video still as part of Prime.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to watch ads, you have to pay more.
Right.
And so they're starting to give you some stuff. They get you hooked, exactly. And then they offer you an add-on subscription for this and that and Ring and whatnot. So I think they've gotten pretty good. They've gotten pretty good at using Prime to get people into the door. And for this, I think that's actually the most interesting thing about Alexa Plus. It's for the first time a voice assistant, LLM-powered voice assistant, new generation of voice assistant that's available to millions of users out of the gate. And they don't have to go to like a chatbot web interface anymore. They don't have to like install something else. It's just going to be there for them, for a lot of people, and it's going to be free. So a lot more people are going to be exposed to this type of stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem so far with Echo has always been, this is going to sound so mean. I know a lot of muggles who have Echo because it was the cheapest entry level like assistant device. But because of that's the baseline clientele, most people only know to check notifications for their package. Like they don't even use it to order stuff like Amazon thought they were going to do. I did in the beginning. I got a couple missed shipments and I was like, you know what? It's easier for me to do it on my phone. Right. Before you
I order all the time because like I run out of razor blades and I go, hey, Hayward, order me some razor blades. And then she says, this is what you ordered last time. That shows you 3 or 4. Would you like me to order those again? And I say yes. And it says, what's your, code? I say my code, and then it's done. I think it's a pretty, but Amazon themselves said nobody does this. Amazon says nobody does this. So I'm just
right. And so that part, I think it works, but I think a lot of muggles don't do that. So like I've used it to order things before, and I do, find out when packages are coming. But other than that, I think the primary thing I use Echo for is to do conversions that I can't do in my head. just because I'm in the
I
kitchen.
do timers for cooking. We do. Lisa and I both do because it's in the kitchen.
Yeah, so I have the Echo in the kitchen and a Dot in the living room, and we have a big Echo down here that we don't even use anymore because the HomePod sounds better. The HomePod Mini sounds better.
It's not great for music, yeah.
So, I mean, legit, like it literally became notifications and timers. So if they can, with this, seemingly what they demoed, seems like some things that you might be able to get not just the muggles in, but other people in. But Yanko's right. Because of this device that you can get into for $19, anybody can get it. It doesn't require a $1,500 phone or $1,000 phone or what is it now? $599. Like it is.
Do you think people
really
want AI in the house?
Well, they're going to have
Some
it.
people.
So that's
Gonna have
right?
it. So there, you may not want it, but you're gonna get it.
There.
But that's the thing. Like we all bought these smart speakers at one point. Like I have more Google devices around my house, but the same thing. I use them for timers. I use them for the weather, and that's pretty much it. Maybe you like to play some music. But it's also because they're so bad at any added complexity. And if you just make that a little bit better, and some of the demos that they showed were pretty promising, right? So this whole thing, even like home device control, where they were like, well, play music everywhere, but don't wake up the baby. And then it deducts from that it shouldn't use the speaker in the nursery without you having to explicitly say, oh, play it in this zone and move the music into that room. And that device has this name now. It got so complex with a lot of these things. Like taking away a little bit of that complexity, I think people will really appreciate. And then it doesn't really matter that much to the average consumer, whether it's like the newest generation of AI or something. It's just, it works better.
It's just
and
a
then
tool
people
that
will start
works.
using it.
Yeah, I think it just depends. There's a lot of people who are still feeling burned by the whole like, oh, it's listening to me. And maybe people who are interested in tech are more open to the AI not only, having all these longstanding issues with listening to you and whatever. We'll never know if that's true. But now it's saying, it's accelerating that. It's saying, we want to know everything about you. Upload all your documents. Tell us about your whole home. One of the demos even had a camera and it looked around the room and talked about like what was in the room. So I think a lot of people actually don't like that. And maybe another issue for Amazon would be a lot of people don't even know how to use it. So they're going to have to teach people. So there's like different customer segments and they're going to have to figure that out. They're going to be successful in making Amazon Alexa cool again.
I think one of sorry, Leo.
Yes,
I think
go ahead.
The main thing that's going to hold it back is that they don't know enough about you. So they showed the demo where they're like, upload your kid's soccer schedule. It sounds good, but it starts with you having to find the document and having to upload it through some web interface or having to use a special email address. Even like for emails, you have to send it to Alexa at alexa.com. I was told by a Amazon spokesperson. When you compare that to Google's Gemini, they showed very similar things last year when they unveiled it at Google I/O, but it can search all your email because it already has all your emails.
That's true.
It can search through all. So instead of summarize this one document or summarize this one email, you can just tell her to summarize all the emails that you recently got from your kid's school, which is a really compelling demo to anybody who has school-age children.
Yeah, we'll see if Google, I'm sure Google is watching this and saying, all right, we're going to have their event where they're going to put Gemini in Google Home. And so the big question is which one's going to be better, right?
Yeah.
Did Amazon address the privacy thing at all in the event?
No, they put the foot on the gas and they were just like, we're going to
quite the opposite.
All your data, quite the opposite. Yeah.
That is, I've noticed in some of the stories, what they consider a selling point. And it's one of the problems Apple's having right now is they're trying to protect your privacy. And so unlike these other companies, Google and Amazon especially, they're not doubling down on, hey, we know everything about you. Amazon said that, right? They said, hey, think of all the things we know about you. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, and also you can tell us more.
Tell us your soccer schedule. Tell us
everything about your kids and, all your medical information. Tell us what's in your house, what it looks like, who's doing what in what room, what you're buying, where you're going, who you're talking to, who you're emailing. That's what they want to know.
Will people
this is going to sound
accept
crazy.
that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so, but this is going to sound crazy. The best way Amazon could get this to pick up I think we didn't talk about this. I think a lot of people pulled back from the momentum that Echo had when it was going, because all the TV channels, I mean, movies and stuff were talking about it. It was ending up in all types of, like SNL, and not just to make fun of it, but Alexa became a verb just like Google for a minute, right? It was something that we all talked about. But when all of the stories came out about the mistreatment of workers, I think a lot of people also got soured on Amazon, and they could easily fix it by just be like, listen, okay, we're going to go take better care of the people. And then that would allow more muggles to want to buy into the whole Amazon thing.
Wait,
I have so many people that say,
can we talk about it before we
those are the people who don't have magic, right, Doc?
Yeah. That's my term for like normal people that are not like those of us who came
Emily,
up in tech
tell me
writing
you read Harry Potter.
Of course, multiple times. I'm so jealous you're using muggles in a sentence, and I'm teach me your ways.
We used to call them normies, right?
Yeah, I call them regular regulars.
Yeah,
that's even better. I don't use normies because I'm definitely not normal, and then I might sound like a diss. But I think that it has such an opportunity, and I know so many people that hate the fact that they're relying on Amazon because they're mad at Amazon for some of their other stuff. And I'm like, if any one of these guys would clean that part up, they could just take over. And it just seems crazy.
Think the tech is just bad. I think most people, like Amazon is so mass market. I think most people don't know or care about that stuff. And I just think it's not that good.
Interesting. I think it is. Anybody who, I use AI like crazy, and I've given up on privacy years ago. So, to me, it's become very clear that you want to give AI more information because it'll be more useful. Here's an example. I just took a picture of all my supplements and asked ChatGPT to analyze it, and it did a great job. But now, of course, somebody somewhere now knows all the supplements I take, and but I didn't care, Yeah. And is that how we're going to be, or are people going to go the other way and go, no, I'm not giving them that information?
Well, I don't know. And I think another thing about this is Amazon's vision actually is the same as every other tech company's vision in terms of these AI assistants. So all of them want to know as much about you as possible. All of them want their tech to be with you throughout the day as your assistant. And so that's the whole agentic AI buzzword that everyone hears. Like that's what it is. Amazon is maybe different because they have the physical device in the home versus a phone or computer based thing, but this is not unique to Amazon. This is just the direction the industry is going.
Well, to that point, there's an interesting article every Sunday. Mark Gurman, who's the rumor guy, the Apple rumor guy at Bloomberg, puts out his Power On newsletter. And every Sunday, there's this massive dump of stuff about Apple, some of which is well sourced. He's very good at that. Some of which is his own speculation. In this case, he's identified Apple's AI crisis, and he is sourcing this from people who with knowledge of the situation. He's actually saying Apple is not going to get its full AI, what Amazon just announced, in effect, what other AI companies are already doing, until 2027, until iOS 20, which is
been pushed back already to 2026. It was originally supposed to be. Yeah, so that's
bad. Is that bad news, or is Apple going to be?
I'm cool with it.
Looking back and saying, "See, we told you that stuff's crap."
Listen, I'm cool with it. You know why? Because Apple is you know this as well as I do. Apple is super famous for rolling into the party late, looking fly as hell. They're going to be suited and booted when they walk in the door. They're going to be like, OpenAI, you look like a nerd, sit down. They're going to be like, Alexa, that outfit is played, beat it. Google, all right, formidable, but move out of the way. They always walk into the door looking like Idris Elba at the end.
Yeah, but they're so far behind this time. Gurman says Apple's half a decade late to the game, and even bleaker timeline than many of us imagine. I'm reading from his newsletter. On top of that, Apple's rivals are not standing still. Given the speed at which they're operating now, imagine where OpenAI and Google will be in 2 years.
I also think that's not necessarily true anymore, that Apple always waits and then rolls out the best product. Case in point, Vision Pro. I mean, it's a great visual device and so forth, but they really were like not there yet where they wanted to be, too highly priced and so forth. And then the other thing, they're going to roll out, if the rumors are true, and I think Mark has reported on that quite a bit too, they're going to launch a smart display possibly as early as this year. So if the AI isn't ready, what's the smart display going to do?
How
is
smart
that
could it
going
be?
to compare
Just
to
be a pretty display,
Amazon?
as always.
It'll be it'll be Ellie. But see, I think that 21-inch Echo that I just bought already is a smart display, and in a couple of months, do you think? By the way, Amazon reported that they were having trouble with the AI. In fact, last year they kind of punted. This year they said we're going to have a meeting on February, a go or no go meeting on Valentine's Day, February 14th. That was a week before this event, or 2 weeks before this event. And apparently that was a no-go, which is why they weren't able to announce availability at this event. What did they say about availability, Emily? It sounded a little mushy.
They said in the coming weeks, which is what everyone says for
that's
everything.
Pretty mushy.
But that's what everyone says. I can't tell you how many times I write articles and I quote coming soon or in the coming weeks. It's pretty standard. And the one thing was they did not allow us to interact with the product. So
that's telling.
Hands-on demos, and we tried, and they were sketchy about it. They were like, "Come back in 10 minutes." And then we came back, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you can't do it." And it was really weird. And so it's kind of like we don't know how much was canned and how much wasn't, but we definitely were not allowed to try it ourselves. So that was a bit sus.
The good news is because all of the AI will be server side. Virtually every Echo device made, even the old ones, will work with this, right?
No, they're ruling a couple of ones out, like the first generation,
the really old ones.
Echo Show devices, not even super old ones, like the Echo Show devices, so the screen devices. Not every of them will get it. I think third-party devices with Alexa built in are generally not going to get it. So if you have Alexa
said it's only coming to Echo Shows first, like probably the newer ones. Which
it's not coming to the dots. It's not. It has to have a display.
Timeline. There's no timeline for anything besides the shows right now.
And I talked to one of the spokespeople there, or I emailed. I wasn't at the event, but I wrote about it for my newsletter, so I went back and forth over email quite a bit. And she told me end of March is the timeline for the early access rollout.
That's what I had heard as well. That's early access. So what does that mean? Not normal people won't get it, or you'll have to sign up for an early access version?
My understanding is that early access means only people who have certain devices out of the gate will get it. So later on, it will be available on the Alexa app on your phone, and so you don't even need to have an Echo necessarily to use it. But initially, it will only be for devices for people who have some of these screen devices in their houses. So that's early access, basically.
You also need a Willy Wonka golden ticket.
Do I have to sleep with Grandpa to get that?
I love this comment from the
both
chat.
at two ends of the bed. Terrible.
I know, I agree with you.
Listen,
so I'm looking, I have a 5, an 8,
Leo,
and a 10. It'll work on the 5, 8, and the 10, right? These are all ones I've purchased. Look at it. This is ridiculous. I mean, something wrong with me. Look at this. Why do I have so many of these? Ay.
You're learning a lot about your consumption habits, Leo.
See, I told you, I don't care. I got no privacy.
So what are your supplements? Just kidding. I don't want to know.
Leo, listen, I love this comment from the chat because this drives me crazy more than anything else. You know, the reason why we sit here walking around the words of the S lady and the A lady and whatever is because why is it 2025 and we can't name our devices?
Yeah, no, I'm a big one on that.
No joke, mine would be named Emily. Not even.
Remember when the Moto X came out? When did the Moto X come out? That was like 10 years ago.
Yes.
And you could change this was a Google device because it was when Google owned Motorola, and you could change the wake word. I had mine be "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi," because I figured that's a good one because I'm not going to say that by accident unless we're watching Star Wars. I think we're okay.
So I looked at just circling back. I just looked it up again. You will have to have an Echo Show 8, 10, 15, or 21 to get early access.
So my 5s will not.
5 is out of the gate, out of the door. Eventually,
but it says eventually they're gonna eventually have it for almost every.
Right. Well, actually, my colleague Will Greenwald at PC Mag made a good point that it's interesting that they didn't launch this as along with a new device that supports it, which is like what Apple did, right? You have to
normally
get the newest iPhones to get the best Siri and all this AI stuff. You have to have the 16 or a Pro 15, but Amazon didn't say that. I think I saw a report that they're going to come out with new devices to go with it. So that's kind of TBD too.
Do you think the world, I mean, we're spending some time talking about this, but do you think the real world is even aware of this? No.
The
tech world is.
Yes.
No. I mean,
But
I think
again-
it's sad for Apple. We've just totally glossed over them. I mean, do we even care?
Well, Gurman says, despite what Apple has said, Apple says, for instance, iPhones sell better in markets where Apple Intelligence is available. That may have nothing to do, by the way, with Apple Intelligence. That may have a lot more to do with the affluence of that market. But Gurman says people aren't really excited about Apple Intelligence. No consumer is desperate to use it, and that's partly because it's crappy. I wonder if Echo Plus is going to be a selling point, or if people are going to care. Amazon may be stuck in that boat where they lost $10 billion in the first 10 years of Echo. Have they done anything to make a difference? Are they more likely to make money on this?
That's the whole problem. That was Emily's whole point. Like, the tech is just bad. And honestly, even with Apple Intelligence, I wish it was better, but I will say that the summary of emails that I can just get rid of without bother reading it that does enough. Like, I wish it did more, but that saves me so much time. And then even summaries of notifications on the home screen saves me so much time. It shouldn't be a whole big deal. It shouldn't be like any one particular phone you got to get to make it work. So hopefully whatever they decide to come up with in 2027 is better than that. But that itself is actually good. It's not that that's terrible.
And incidentally, you can rename the Echo. It can be Alexa, it
Computer
can be computer, which
Or
is
Echo.
even worse, and it can be Echo.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys think they're just followers, and maybe that's a bad sign? Because like I said, I feel like their vision is the same as the industry's. I personally think voice assistants are bad tech, and I have never liked them. I hate them.
Really?
I hate them in cars. I mean,
Yeah.
to crash into the media and you're trying to get it to do something basic. Like my Alexa's collecting dust. It can't connect to my Spotify. It has taken it 5 years to figure that out. I've never ever had a good experience with a voice assistant.
It's often
so
frustrating, isn't it?
It feels
Yeah.
very tone deaf to me that the industry
Disconnects from
is
the Wi-Fi often.
right. But yeah, so many issues, and just the voice, like Alexa, set timer. I don't want to do that. I'm out on this
You did
test.
it very
Need to
well,
get
though,
more
I must say.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I think so the bar is so low that improving that just a little bit, making that just a little easier to have a more natural conversation with these devices. And that's what LLMs are great for, right? So if you don't have to remember these exact phrases anymore and get it 100% right, and otherwise Google's going to tell you, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do with that. So the bar is so low that getting it better is actually not that hard, I think.
Right.
So,
it's just
you know what?
of all the things they could invest in. I'm like, is this the right one? Is there momentum?
yeah.
Is there potential?
So you just brought up something very, very valuable, Yanko. I talk to Claude, Gemini, Chad, his name's Chad, all the time. And their ability to just talk like normal and answer like normal is so good. Why the heck does the smart speakers don't work? So Google technically should be smoking everybody, because talking to Gemini is phenomenal. I have
It is.
business conversations with it all the time. I'm doing this project and I want to really define the customer avatar. So I'm like, interview me to make sure that we're on point with this, new ad campaign that we're about to run on Twit. So it gives me all of this great information that we can use, and we use it all the time. And so why is it that the device in my house can't do that? It drives me nuts.
Well, I think the problem that everybody had in the industry is getting these conversations right with LLMs is not the hard part. The hard part is actually plugging into all the existing shit that you have around your house and making the device now also know how to control light bulbs, also know how to deal with all the existing tech in your house, also plug into the existing services. That was another part of the announcement where they're like, oh, it's also going to work with Spotify and Hulu and Netflix and all those things by using existing APIs. But they had to retrofit it to work with all the existing stuff without reinventing the wheel. So that's the extra step that everybody had to go through. Just talking to Gemini on your phone, I agree, it's incredibly impressive.
Fabulous.
But at the same time, until not too long ago, it would tell me, no, I can't turn on the light for you.
And that's
Right.
probably what's taking Apple a long time, because Apple wants it to be able to send text and have its little tentacles in the whole Apple ecosystem. And they also want it to be privacy, focused. And so I think if anything, all those integrations, it would be what's delaying it. But also Mark Gurman is the main voice saying it's delayed. So I know we trust him, but he's the only one who said it was 2026 instead of 2025. And then he said now it's 2027. So I don't think this is
could be
official.
wrong.
He could be wrong. It's not official from Apple.
No,
I just
true.
think that's important to point
That's
out.
fair. Yeah, that's fair. He could be wrong. What do people want with their AI assistants? Do they really want to have a conversation with them? Emily, do you use AI for anything?
I use ChatGPT and Gemini for like researching and ideation.
Do you talk to it or do you type to it?
No, I think I'm just like so out on voice tech. I talk to it if I have to write articles, and I have had that moment where like that Panos wanted me to have. I've had that with Google Gemini and ChatGPT voice mode where I'm like, wow, I'm actually talking to a computer for real right now. I think it's cool, but I think just using my good old fingers, just typing, texting, like I'm getting done what I need to get done, and am using AI in other ways. So I haven't really found a reason to talk to an AI.
I find myself talking to, I have set up on the iPhone the action button to talk to ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And I will ask her, or might be Perplexity. That's the other one I use all the time is Perplexity.
Perplexity is good.
I really like that's what I use for search now instead of Google.
Yeah, same here.
You don't get what's hard is you don't get a link necessarily. You often just get a summary. But for a lot of things, for a lot of research, like last night we were watching The Brutalist trying to get ready for the Oscars tonight. And I noticed that they had those fixed position construction cranes, which I thought were first used in New York City for skyscrapers. The ones where it's just, and it rotates around, and as the skyscraper gets taller, the crane gets taller. And I saw those in the background on this hill, and I thought, that's anachronistic. They didn't have those, and they certainly didn't have them unless you're building a high rise. They didn't have them in the 50s. So I did a long, deep search on Perplexity and learned a lot about construction cranes in the process, but never once went to a web page, which I think is probably a bad thing for those
I have the
web
same
pages.
feeling after I do use ChatGPT a lot, and to Google, or not even, I just said Google, that's the word for researching, but I use it to get information, but it leaves me with a weird feeling like,
like you ripped people off.
You rip people off, and also like, I actually can't fact check what you're saying because it's coming
that's
from
a problem
so many
too,
places, and so it leaves you with just a twinge of doubt, I think.
Yeah, I have a whole thing on construction crane history on my Perplexity, with videos and pictures, and this started in Mesopotamia in 3000 BC, and those modern cranes have a specific name. I can't remember what it is, but. Fixed high-rise cranes that use elevator shaft are called internal climbing tower cranes. So just so you know.
All right, quick fact check, people in the chat. Is that correct?
And that's maybe my fault. I don't assume it's hallucinating, especially Perplexity, because it's usually going out on the web to find answers. And people tell me you should be fact checking. I guess if you're a journalist.
Yeah,
Emily, I would before using an article. But
that affects my opinion towards AI because I actually really need things to be right, and it can create more time for me, and so it could be why I'm a little more hesitant. It just doesn't really fit with my line of work perfectly.
That makes sense. Yeah, journalists should be
when you ask it to do things like that, especially pull research. One of the key things you could always tell it to is to pull you the sources. And I always tell it to double check its facts, and then it oftentimes catch itself. And it's like, oh yeah, sorry, I pulled that one, but you should look at this one, and it'll give you the link. So it still speeds it up because
Perplexity does that. It has footnotes.
It will build you a list,
and you can tap the footnote to see where that came from.
Yeah.
Gemini too.
It makes it fairly easy to.
Gemini would be real bad if it's giving you the wrong links because it is Google.
It often gives.
Really?
Oh my God.
One time I asked it a question, and one of the links was a poster website.
Wow.
Like a poster related to my question. And I was like, it was like posters.com. I was like, what the heck?
That's not a good source. Probably.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
So I kind of use it as like a directional thing. Like it's like a vibe giver, like initial information, and that it can speed things up for sure. It's not useless. It's just, I also have to use Google for sure. And see.
So that's the observation most experts have come up with, is that AI is good, useful in conjunction with a human. that it is a partnership, but the human's in charge. That's the problem I have with Amazon's Echo is there's no follow-up or anything. You're just talking to this box and you have to assume it's right. And I don't feel like you're as involved because of the way the interaction is set up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, especially the one where
bit.
it's like, bring a mechanic to the house to fix my oven.
Yeah, what the hell?
The demo is like, I know all these Amazon execs have like tons of money that they don't care who comes to the house,
right.
but
any
I
mechanic
want
will
quotes. I want quotes because
right.
mechanics, especially if anyone's ever done work on their house or like, you don't know what the heck you're getting. And I definitely don't want Alexa sending some like Joe Schmo to my house. And then I end up with a $750 bill in my.
I hear you want a bathroom remodel. Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
I did that, by the way, on the web. I was looking for somebody to repair my shower and I made a mistake. I went to a site that I think was a bogus site from Angie's List. And I got literally for the next 2 weeks, 5 or 6 calls a day from people who said, I hear you want a bathroom remodel. No, I just wanted my shower fixed. No.
We had the AC go out the other day and I called the company and I know the owner of the company. And then he's like, okay, I'll send somebody tomorrow. And it's like, yo, we have guys that work with him that are
That's
like
what you
3
need.
that I love and
you
2
need
that I don't like.
Man.
And so he knows not to send the guys that we don't like because that would just be a waste of time. Well, it's not we, it's the other person.
Well, I mean, if it's a bad person, I just be like, talk to my Alexa. Like, I didn't call you here.
Hey, come here. Can you just work this out with Alexa? Because I don't want to have anything to do.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. It seems like a bad match. Also, she'll pick up the bill, your site visit bill or whatever.
Okay, so Leo, you asked the question. I'm going to answer it now. Thank you, Emily. Leo said, what do you want your AI to do? I want my AI to sit on hold with Spectrum to tell them that I've been in tech since Jesus walked to Nazareth. I know I rebooted everything. I know what's broken. Just restart it on your end. They will fight you for like 3 hours. And when they finally do it, they go, oh, look, that worked. So that's what I want Alexa to do. I want Alexa to fight with Spectrum until
doesn't Google wasn't that the idea? Google announced this years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was like years ago.
It would call and intercede for you. And I don't think that went so well.
Well, that's what they're saying in this case is that they will call the mechanic. So I guess that mechanic is going to be bumbling around town in his van and he's going to get a phone call from an AI that's like, do you want to go fix an oven at 123 Downtown Street? And he's going to be like, what? And this is going to be the most just idiotic interaction of all time. And that's, I guess, the world that people want.
Put up the Alexa signal.
Did you all see the video where 2 AIs were talking to each other and then like, oh, now the AIs recognize that they're talking to each other and said they're switching to this weird tweet mode and they were just playing modem sounds to each other.
Oh, wow.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was the
It's like that, but
thing.
the guy on the other end, I mean, I'm in Jersey as some like Jersey Italian contractor and that's like oil and water. They can't even send
calling me for?
They can't even send an email. I mean, it's bad. I've gotten quotes that are like screenshots of a screenshot of a screenshot. And it's like, where the heck, who are you guys?
I had a plumber.
Emily, you have just discovered what a muggle is.
That's a muggle.
No, I love that you use that.
Muggles
That's why
are
I
from
wanted.
Jersey. I had a plumber come out and he said, boy, it was hard to find. I said, what do you mean it was hard? It's on the Google Maps. He said, oh, yeah, I don't have any of that stuff.
Exactly. That's my point. They're saying they're going to call these guys to fix your oven. Like,
I don't know how to get there. Let me look in the Thomas Guide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
We are having some fun now. Let's talk more about tech in just a bit with Emily Forlini from PC Magazine, Doc Rock, the YouTube Doc Rock. That one, not Duke Rock. That's a different one. Doc Rock. Also, now, did you say that Ecamm's going to buy some ads? Because I heard you say that.
Yeah, what we're doing is like we're running it through all of this stuff and coming up with a new marketing plan because, it's almost
good.
that time
Twit's here for you. But that's not why Doc Rock is on. We love Ecamm. In fact, we're using it right now. We use it with Zoom in conjunction. And so Benito, who's running the operation at his house, because he's got 10 gigabit symmetric internet, has Ecamm running on a Mac, which is also running the Zoom, which is this call. It's a complicated thing, but it works quite well. He's doing the switching with Ecamm. Anyway, great to have you, Doc. And of course, Janko Retkers, longtime friend, going way back to the GigaOM days. Lowpass.cc is a must read. And I subscribe. Really must read Is it Substack? Who do you use for your newsletter?
I use Beehive, and actually
Much better.
Very happy with them.
Yeah, I hear very good things about Beehive. Good. Well, that's glad. You got 17,000 people subscribing.
Give or take,
good.
yeah.
That's very nice. Good for you, Yanko. I think this is the future in so many ways. You know, a talented reporter who's made a name for himself and then does it on his own. Why should you?
I have a paid tier, and I also do ads. So if any eCam-like company wants to do an ad in my newsletter, let's talk.
hint.
Putting you in.
Hint. We'll have more in just a bit. It's great to have you all here, too. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Thinkst Canary. I've been talking about Thinkst Canaries for about 8 years now. We even have a Thinkst Canary right over here. The idea is it's a honeypot. So the Thinkst Canary looks like like an external USB drive, just a little black box about yay big, plugs into the wall, plugs into your network. You can then go into the console and you can give it a personality. Like it can be an SSH server or an IIS server, web server. It could be a Linux box, a Windows box. It could be a SCADA device. I mean, there's really the sky's the limit. But these are not any of those devices. From the hacker's point of view, they're indistinguishable. But they are actually little honeypots just waiting for the bad guy to attack them. They can also create files. You know, you can spread around your network that looks like spreadsheets or PDFs or Word documents or whatever. I have a number of XLSX files that say things like payee information or employee information, the kind of stuff that a bad guy can't resist. So you sprinkle them around, and if somebody accesses those lure files or tries to brute force your fake internal SSH server, your Thinkst Canary goes, whoa, and will immediately alert you that you have a problem. No false alerts, just the alerts that matter. Choose a profile for your Thinkst Canary device. It's kind of fun. It's so easy to do. You might change it all. You know, you could change it every day. I change it from time to time. It's indistinguishable from the actual device, right down to the MAC address. Then you register with your hosted console for monitoring and notifications. By the way, notifications any way you want. Email, SMS. I guess you can get a fax. It supports webhooks, syslog. It has an API, really any way you want it. Then you just sit and wait. An attacker who's inside, has breached your network, is inside, or a malicious insider, an evil maid, or that kind of thing. They make themselves known by accessing your Thinkst Canary. They can't help themselves. They don't look vulnerable. They look valuable. They're like, I got to get into that thing. The minute they do, you will know. Visit canary.tools/twit for just $7,500 a year. As an example, you'll get 5 Thinkst Canaries. You get your own hosted console, upgrade, support, maintenance. Oh, and by the way, if you use the offer code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, 10% off the price for not just for the first year, but forever, for life, as long as you use your Thinkst Canaries. You can always return your Thinkst Canaries with their 2-month money-back guarantee for a full refund. So there is absolutely no risk here. You got to try it. I should point out that in the 8 years that Thinkst Canary has partnered with TWIT, no one has ever asked for a refund, not once. Because they work. Because once you get one, you realize, oh, we've needed this all along. Visit canary.tools/twit. Enter the code TWIT and How'd You Hear About Us box for 10% off for life. Canary.tools/twit for your very own Thinkst Canary. We thank them for their support of This Week in Tech. So we were going to talk about Apple. I guess we've kind of talked about Apple and its LLM Siri. We should say, somebody said in the chat room, oh, Apple Intelligence is here. Yeah, we're talking about smart Siri. Siri's not going to get smart for some time. She's actually gotten dumber, right?
Yes.
That's the sad thing.
100%.
I like to think we all get smarter, but perspective.
Maybe we're getting dumber too. I know as I age, I've forgotten more things than I knew. Google's founder, we were talking about Gemini, Sergey Brin has told the AI team, stop building nanny products. You know, for a long time, one of the things AI companies have really worked on is AI safety. so that the AI wouldn't say something horrific or wouldn't teach you how to make bombs and so forth. But maybe that's holding you back. He sent a message to all the employees in Google's DeepMind division saying it's been 2 years of the Gemini program, and GDM, which is Google DeepMind. New York Times reported this. We have come a long way in that time with many efforts we should feel very proud of, he says. At the same time, let me refresh this because I can't scroll it past that point.
You've just been making it up thus far.
I've been making it up. I can't read it. What is at the same time? What's going on? Is The Verge turned off scrolling? All right, let me go to the.
It might be their paywall. You hit their paywall.
Oh, do they have a paywall?
Yeah,
I thought The Verge was free.
No, they added a subscription tier.
This is the problem now. I have to pay for every source.
Well, AI, someone.
Oh, yeah. I could ask Perplexity what Larry said. Can anybody see it and tell me what Larry said? I feel
stop
like
making nanny products. I think that's. I don't
know.
No
more nanny products.
What does that mean? Like
he says, at the same time, competition accelerated immensely, and the final race to AGI is. I can't read the rest of it.
Is a foot.
What is it?
Is a foot. And then he says, I think we have all the ingredients to win this race, but we are going to have to turbocharge our efforts.
What does it mean to stop building nanny products? Does that mean abandon AI safety?
Oh,
okay, so I'm trying to think of the word nanny. Like that's like someone who takes care of kids.
Well, sometimes they talk about nanny government, right? A government that doesn't trust its people enough, so it has to tell them you got to wear a motorcycle helmet or you have to wear a seatbelt. That sometimes people say that's the nanny state.
Both those things are really good ideas, by the way.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I agree with them, but that's kind of the attitude, and I guess that's what Sergey Brin is saying.
Well, I think it's hip right now to hop on the less AI regulation train that kind of like the Trump administration is ushering into, and they went to the Paris AI summit, and the whole thing was like less regulation, and so it seems to be in vogue right now to talk about not being responsible, which I kind of feel like they're setting it up so people have to pick. Like you should just have an innovative product that also doesn't like kill you or teach your kid how to make a bomb. And I guess that's too much to ask. I don't know.
I mean, there's something where you could make the argument without calling it a nanny product. That they're sometimes overshooting it a little bit. When I was trying out the Ray-Bans, Meta Ray-Bans, I was trying a couple of things where I would just take a photo of a car, and I was like, "Tell me about this type of car." And the AI was initially told me right away, "Oh, I can't identify this license plate, and I can't talk about people's cars." I was like, "I don't care who owns. Just
tell me the make.
Like which year was this car made, or something like that." Exactly.
Well, here's the good news, because Perplexity has gotten around the Verge paywall, and I have the rest. In the leaked internal memo, Brin expressed concern for Google's AI offerings are, quote, overloaded with filters and various restrictions. Exactly what you were saying, Yanko. And he said, we have to trust our users rather than creating overly cautious products. He also said the AI team should be working 60 hours a week and should come in at least every weekday. Is that reasonable?
No.
I think
none of the people here even go into the office, right?
No. So listen, I definitely bust my. First of all, how long it would take me to commute every day to work? That's 13 hours a day, both directions. 26 hours a day doesn't work.
Yeah.
This thing years ago. Adobe had a thing called ROWE, Results Only Work Environment, and they were working deep into this. This was way back in like 2014. As a matter of fact, the last conversation I had about it was at a coffee shop in San Francisco with Malik. How about that? That's how long ago this was. Talking about full circle. And it was starting to catch on. And I was over here doing workshops, teaching companies in Hawaii because our traffic is so bad that this works. And people are more, advantageous with their work because they're not thinking about their kids, what they need to get done because they can do stuff. And a couple years ago, somebody said, "Oh, everybody needs to get back to work because they think everybody's lazy." And now everybody's going back to it. And it was so dumb. It's really, really stupid. Like
he says,
if you go to work, you go to work. It doesn't matter.
He says 60 hours a week is, quote, the sweet spot of productivity and allows for maximum output without risking burnout. That's 5 12-hour days a week. I don't know. I think I'd be burnout.
I think what's happening here is that people at Google and Meta and so forth all have Musk envy. They realize you can be an a-hole and you can't treat the people terribly, and maybe that accelerates your product a little bit. And then they build these to the point of how much AI safety you need. It's the same thing, right? Where they build all these safeguards into their products, and then Grok comes along and has what's it called? A-hole mode, Musk mode? I'm not
Unhinged.
sure. But yeah, exactly. There you go. That's a technical term. But really what I think they're giving up too much here, and they're like going way too far in the other direction.
Yeah, it's like an a-hole competition, but
Yep.
I mean,
But maybe are we lazy Americans, and in other countries they're working those 12-hour days, and are we afraid that China or India or Germany is going to exceed us, become better than we are?
I think we're a little lazy for sure. I mean, if you think about like what our grandparents were doing, like both my grandfathers were war veterans, and I'm, at home on a podcast, and that's like the hardest thing. Oh, it's Sunday night, I have to get on a podcast. I mean, we're a little wimpy,
If they were the greatest generation, what would you call your generation?
The soft internet generation.
The softies.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Soft-shelled turtles. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Benito. This is the reason they did all that, though, so that you could have a life like this.
Ah,
no, it's true. That's why they did all that.
They fought for your right to sit on your duff.
Yeah.
Benito, I want you to try that with Lolo. I want to see you try that.
Yeah. I mean, like I inherited a gun from my grandfather who picked it up off a soldier in Japan in World War II. And I'm like, I've seen the gun, and I'm like, this couldn't be more different from my life.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
it is a very different life.
But to bring it like back down to earth, I'm of two minds about the like return to office. So like I actually moved from Chicago to New York because I wanted to be closer to the PC Mag office, because I think it's important to feel a connection to your work and your coworkers. I do not think that means working 12 hours a day. But I think if you're spending your whole day doing something, you shouldn't just be talking to a computer. You should be talking to a person. So to me, that sounds like a healthy, balanced society. But I definitely think I think the crazy, like you have to be in 5 days a week working 12 hours is something different than that.
Yeah, that's true. Because like I do, on average, I'm out of here at least once a month to go either to headquarters or to meet them at some conference. So we just came back from Orlando and Pensacola, and I also went back to headquarters in Boston. So I see my team pretty much every month, if not every other month.
Which is important. Yeah.
Which is important. Yeah, we have a blast because we get to see each other all the time. And it's always like we look forward to the time that we do get to work together. And I'm about to do Chicago and then NAB. NAB is big for us. So yeah, I think you're right. Like having that connection is fine, but just telling somebody I got to see you every day for this amount of time a day or whatever, it's just crazy.
That's actually unproductive for sure. But sometimes it's almost like
all we talk about is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no one cares. It should only be insofar as it's beneficial to your work and like your profession, your career. Like I don't necessarily need to know what everyone's doing on the weekend, but if we're working together in a company, like there should be an element of what are we doing, and there should be some ability to talk about that in a more casual setting, and it just gets lost over the computer.
By the way, you're right. The Verge wants $50 a year or $7 a month for me to read the rest of that article.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like almost uncool to think that going into an office is smart. Like there's just become this whole trend that it's like, if I want to be in the office, people are like, oh, are you a boomer? It's like, no, I just want to be invested in my work.
I kind of I'll be honest, I miss having my colleagues around me in the studio. We're now a completely remote company.
I mean, there are remote first companies that are doing great, right? So I don't think you can make a universal rule. Like people have different needs, companies have different needs. Sometimes maybe it matters for some other jobs. I always thought it was really distracting. I've worked like in both roles. When I was at Variety, I was remote just by the nature of me being up north and all of those folks being down in LA. when I was at Protocol, I went back to the office, and I always thought like I got the least amount of work done in an office because
of the
always
meetings,
somebody to talk to you,
and those doofuses who look over the barrier and say, "Hey, what you doing, Yanko? You writing?
Exactly.
You doing anything?"
So, I always felt like if I really want to write and I want to actually get something done, I have to go home or I have to go to a coffee shop. So
a lot of people feel like that.
I think writers do need some solitude. That's normal, right?
And it's also like different stages of your life. Like if you're raising kids or you're taking care of an aging parent or you have like responsibilities at home or even just, someone you have to let in the mechanic that Amazon called. Like there's reasons that you have to be home sometimes. And it's like the black and white of this guy saying like you have to be in the office 12 hours a week is just like, do you even know how society works?
That's a really good point. I mean, how are you going to get your laundry done? How are you going to what are you going to do with your kids? I mean, 60 hours is a lot to spend in an office.
That's not good at all. Why would we want that?
Yeah. Well, it's not good quality of life. Maybe, it is in the old days of startups, the startup culture, Apple and so forth. The guys who designed this Macintosh behind me probably worked 80 or 90 hours a week while they were developing it. I mean, that's how Silicon Valley started, isn't it?
Yeah, but then they got rich and then they stopped working. And there's different times of your life when you need different things. And some blanket statement about you have to be in the office 12 hours a day the rest of your life is just dumb.
Somebody is pointing out that our old studio is now a shared workspace for remote workers. It's true. Why do people do that? That's because people need some human contact though, right?
Yeah. Dude, co-working is the bomb. I had a co-working space for a while and it's really a thing that is for that. Like, so Yanko said, like you want to be by yourself, but every once in a while you want to be around people who will sort of push you, and that competitive spirit of like, I'm over here at that time writing for Tua, I'm doing my articles and these kids are coding all kind of crazy stuff. I'm like, damn, I'm just a low life tech writer right now. Then I kind of was jealous. I wanted to learn how to code. And so it kept me in the game, but also I was able to add some of what's going on in their world to our articles and our stories and things. So it was great. It was fun. And the best thing I had of that, I dragged a bunch of coder kids with me to like the last Macworld, something they never would have thought about going to. And they all say like that was like one of their greatest experiences, right?
Yeah, so it's like the randomness. Our world as well. Yeah, you wouldn't have predicted that, but if you're just at home and you have 3 recurring meetings that have been on your calendar for 3 years and you're just at home doing the meetings, like that's not great.
We are more isolated in this era, are we not? That seems to be not a good thing for humans. It's been the trend in the industrial age to become more and more isolated and to be moving away from your family and your tribe. And, I feel like that's in the long run, maybe not good for our biology. Like we need to.
That's why I go live twice a week so that my tribe can come and hang out on Zoom. So like they're sitting in the back room, like
hanging out on Zoom. Look, I'm with you guys right now, but it's not the same as if we were sitting around having a beer and shooting the breeze, is it?
Which would be very fun. I would love.
It would be more fun.
Yeah, that would be a blast.
I'd love to get a drink with you guys and talk about tech. Like that'd be great.
This is kind of sort of what this is, but it's the AI version of it.
The best thing is, Emily, go to an Italian restaurant with Lisa. That's the party right there.
When did you do that?
When we were in Denver. Me, Lisa, Micah, Maximilian.
Was it wild?
God, that was so much fun. Yes.
Oh, that's the one. The 3 of them came home with COVID.
It wasn't my fault. I was good.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Is that when this started? Is 5 years ago with the COVID epidemic? Is that when we all kind of started? Yeah, right?
Yes, yes. The year is 2025. That was 2020.
Time of the year, yeah.
It's so crazy, right? It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it is.
I know.
Well, in fact, it's exactly because March 17th is when California closed down. So it's exactly 5 years ago that we started to get the news right around now into February, early March. And
I remember I wrote an article in late February where I was looking at people on Kickstarter delaying their campaigns out of China. And this guy I got somehow in touch with somebody who was developing a hardware product in China. And he was sending me photos of himself going shopping with a mask and with gloves on. And I was like, that is crazy.
Who would want to ever do that?
Exactly. And then 2 months later, that was us.
Seattle was the first city to do the shutdowns as we had the first cases. because I lived there at that time. And everyone thought we were crazy. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys totally overreacting. And then it spread, but it was
really bad in Seattle. I remember that was the first place in the US that was really bad. Yeah.
It was funny to me. Everybody's a visceral reaction. I went to school in Japan, so like masking up is normal. Like if you have a sniffle, you don't come to class sniffling in front of the whole class. You mask for the whole class so you don't make everybody else sick. So like I already had the equipment and everything because we go to Japan a lot. But it was so weird. Everybody's a visceral reaction to like, oh, you're going to die from breathing in the mask. And I'm like, when you was a child, when you were coming out, your mom was in labor for like 8 hours with you. You know what they were wearing? Mask. You're not going to die. You came into the world looking at people in masks.
You really took it all the way back to childbirth.
I pray that I don't go out of this world looking at people wearing masks. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
I would like to see their faces.
Bad for dentists. Like no one would be getting dental work done.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. How did that come up for you, Emily? Is your husband a dentist? What's going on?
No, because I thought during COVID it was weird. You never saw people smile.
Oh.
And then that made me, I thought about that. And I thought it was nicer when people took the masks off because you can see like the full range of people's emotions. And then I thought about the dentist, and I thought about the dental industry. And then that comment came out.
I hang out with ugly people. I want them to put the mask back on.
I just, for some reason, fixated on the thing that you said you had all the equipment. I just, Doc Rock has all the equipment.
Mask and gloves is like normal for me. Number one, I always had gloves. I was a paramedic, so
remember,
always
it turned out you didn't need gloves. Remember we were hosing down our groceries? We'd get groceries delivered, and I would wipe everything down with alcohol swabs before bringing it in.
Leave things outside for hours just to make sure that, there's no, we did all of that. But like masks, I still have. I always have them on deck because, it's just,
I have them right over here.
I think the most frustrating thing, though, now because I fly more, and maybe I notice it more because I'm always in an airport. How are we adults and we don't know to cover our, I'm going to insert bad words on Twitter, cover your mouth when you cough, people. So many people just, and I'm like, bro, like, what
have
what
we learned? Nothing.
Oh my God, it drives me crazy.
From The Guardian, I want him to be prepared. Why parents are teaching their Gen Alpha kids to use AI.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now, you don't have kids, Emily. So none of us here have young people, but I
teach my niece and my nephew. Like I want them to know everything, and
it used to be that you would teach kids to code, right? Now you teach them how to prompt.
Yes, and my nephew is into making music.
I would not. I think coding is going to be less important in time.
I think though, like the curriculum's kind of just catching up. Like it definitely wasn't standard to have computer science classes in school when I was in school. And now it's like, my niece is in like computer science class. And so it's kind of still catching up. Maybe prompting, you could add it in because it's supposed to be so natural. Everyone can do it. Maybe you don't need a class. It's also that they're doing more than just saying, here's how you use AI. They're teaching them how AI hallucinates, how to validate what you get. They talk about one father who exposed his child to AI's hallucinatory flaws by having him debunk GPT generated world record claims by verifying it with the Guinness Book of World Records. You know what's so funny? Like when I was in school, they were teaching us the dangers of Wikipedia. And that's changed. Don't cite Wikipedia, and that is like the number one source for all chatbots is Wikipedia. You were in school when Wikipedia was around. Yeah, it was actual. I was so young. Wikipedia. We were growing together. I have in the other room, I have the World Book encyclopedias that I foolishly bought my children when they were little, thinking that's what I grew up looking at the World Book. They never needed that. Dude, World Book and Botanica on Sundays after church, just in there reading about snakes. And I had the one with the color pictures. Like I lived in those things. I loved that. It was a great way to learn stuff. But that was in an era where the other choice was to go to the library. There was no other way to get information. Yep. You know? And so you remember like when we got Encontra, or is that what it called? Encontra, the World Book on Encarta. Encarta, the crappy one that they sold at grocery stores. I thought I was in heaven, and I was like, that was based on Collier's encyclopedia, which was sold volume by volume every month. If you got enough grocery stamps, you would get it. You'd get, now this month is B.
It's the B volume. And Microsoft was so cheap, they bought the lowest. They didn't buy Britannica. They didn't buy the World Book. They bought Collier's Encyclopedia and started Encarta. But yeah, I bet, Emily, you must have had Encarta when you were little.
Yeah.
No. No.
I remember that name. I know the name. I can't say I used it. Can't say I have memories with it.
Remember about old people talking about that?
That's because it was in the case in the drawer. You never used it. It was just in the drawer from somebody.
Do you remember CD-ROMs, Emily?
Yes, I had a CD case, and it was like awesome.
Was it music or was it games and stuff?
Music,
yeah.
Yeah, it was like Sum 41 and Avril Lavigne and Evanescence,
Skater Boy,
and All American Rejects, and my burned CDs, and
it was I used to have a case full of burned CDs.
Yeah.
That didn't last that long, did it?
I think it's making a comeback. As somebody who has teenagers at home, one of them collects CDs.
It is, yeah.
It's so weird.
Just going to like a thrift store. She's big into thrifting anyway. So going to a thrift store, going through all these CDs and then finding something that you can't find on Spotify, apparently really gratifying.
We have a record store in town. Yeah. But I saw this morning, a review of a cassette player in Wired magazine. And I thought, what the hell? Wired's reviewing a cassette player?
That is a good-looking cassette player.
Yes, there's a bunch of them coming out. Teenage Engineering even has one coming out soon.
But
it's crazy.
That's a terrible format for music.
Yeah, I'd rather them bring back the MD.
This does look very cool. It says "We are rewind" on the front.
I mean,
but cassettes have been cool for like 5 years. They've been coming.
Have they really?
Yeah, that's not new.
Hi, this is Benito. So the reason this is happening, I think, my theory is that like vinyl's getting expensive now. Vinyl's expensive now. It's not cheap anymore. Like you used to be able to get cheap vinyl, but since that got big,
cassettes are cheap.
So now cassettes are cheap. So like
and worth every penny.
So people are buying cassettes or CDs. CDs are still cheap.
That makes sense. Benito, you're smart. You know, dude, like maybe like 2 weeks ago, I had my niece, I pick her up to school. I went to go get froyo. And then she's like, hey, can we go to the vinyl store? And I was like, the what? She goes, vinyl. It says right here, this place has a vinyl store. And I was like, you mean vinyl? And then she was like, oh yeah.
Vinyl.
So
you know what? Why do we pronounce it vinyl? It should be vinyl.
Listen, it was just cute to me. And being an ex-DJ, the fact that my niece is in the vinyl, I'm about that life. I'm like, listen, I still have some, but I sold most of it, right before you were born. But I still have all the music in a server.
You seem like you could be a DJ. You had a good radio vibe.
My job.
Like I trust you with my music life.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
But honestly,
5 years.
Any recording medium where the trick to get good audio out of it is to boost the hiss when you record the cassette so that you can lower the hiss when you play back the cassette. That's Dolby audio. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign.
But the limitations that came with the tape, that you have to like figure out how to get your perfect playlist for that special someone onto 45
That's true. Mixtapes.
And like figure out like
you probably don't remember
every day
mixtapes,
after
Emily.
School, dude.
In seventh grade, did a boy ever make a tape for you? No, he probably burned a CD for you.
Yeah, I burned a CD. The only tape I ever had, I won at a roller rink. It was a Backstreet Boys. I won a roller rink contest, and I got a Backstreet Boys tape. So that's
nice.
the only one I ever owned.
Backstreet's back, baby.
I'm pretty sure Leo is the same, but I submitted my audition to KIKFM on tape. You had to submit
reel-to-reel tape. I used reel-to-reel. I had little 7-inch boxes. I made dozens of them and would go to radio stations and say, here's my resume and tape.
Here's my tape. Yep.
The worst.
So I used cassettes, but I had a Kai reel-to-reel. But yeah, every day in school, sitting there and trying to make a different mixtapes for everybody that I know. Like just pause and record and stop, and then getting that right amount before the auto reverse so that it came into another song. Like that was technique, man. That was technique.
Yeah, you seem like the kind of guy who made mixtapes. You were definitely making mixtapes for the ladies.
I was a mixtape king. I was slinging mixtapes out.
Did you call yourself Doc Rock back then?
No, I was DJ Yogi back then because I was smarter than the
DJ
average
Yogi's
bear.
mixtapes.
I think that they still use the word mixtapes. Like I know that word. They applied it to CDs. It just wasn't tapes anymore. Just the word, persisted.
Right.
Okay, so I got a question for Leo.
And there's a great movie, by the way, with John Cusack called High Fidelity, in which he makes the perfect mixtape. And I suppose as long as people still know what that's all about, there's hope for this world. What were you going to say, Doc?
I got a question for you and Yanko. Did you have a brand that was like your go-to brand? For me, it was
Maxell.
BASF Pro 2 Chrome.
Ooh.
I was kind of cheap. I bought TDK, whatever.
TDK
Emily's
is good.
gonna, you guys are so old.
Oh, no,
it's
because
good. I mean,
they had a thing.
Maxell
And
was
then
the
Memorex, when Emily's crew came around, Memorex tried to be hip because of LA looks and Swatch. So they had these plastic ones with red circle and a square and a triangle. And it was like, looked like toy. And I was like, I'm never giving anybody one of those. It looks
I feel like you're acting like Emily, like when she was hatched, like this little hatchling.
This little young hatchling. So, do you remember in the 70s, Memorex had an ad for how good its tapes were, with Ella Fitzgerald singing a high note and shattering a glass. Do you remember that?
Yes, 100%.
We could watch it if you want.
Can the amplified voice of Ella Fitzgerald shatter this glass? Believe it. Ella
And
Fitzgerald
Mythbusters
from
proved it
Memorex
possible.
cassette tape with MRX2 oxide. Can
The
Memorex
key
shatter
is
the glass?
MRX2 oxide.
Yes.
It did it. And that was also the one that had the guy sitting in the chair.
That's Maxell.
That's Maxell. That's why I bought Maxell. I think you're right.
And those speakers that pass by him are BN, not BM.
Those are JBL Sentries, right? I think.
On this one, on one of the commercials, it's the 801s. But yeah, this
oh
looks like
yeah, the 801s were really good. But you could tell it's the JBL in front. We are so old.
Junk but loud.
I still have a box or two of tapes in the basement somewhere that I feel just I can't
dig it out.
Can't get rid of it. Just
dig
like
it out.
all these
Send us
radio
a message and
recordings
let us
that
know
is
what's
late
on
at
there.
night.
Oh, save those. Now that you know that the tape's going to go bad, so you better get them digitized.
Yeah.
Get them digitized. You have to go out and buy
I wish
a cassette player.
mini disc would come back instead of tape, because at least mini disc is recordable, but at least it sounded good.
Yeah, mini disc was higher quality because it was digital. All right, time out. We're going to take a break. Come back with more with the young Emily Forlini, the old Leo Laporte, and the middle-aged guys, Doc Rock and Yanko Records. Great to have you. I'm the old guy here. I've seen it. I've seen it all, my friends.
I'm catching up. I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
So with everything going on in the world, it's probably better to just be old. It's probably better to just.
Well, my attitude is I'll
Call
be
it a
dead
day.
before all the chickens come home.
That's
We're
why you're
just gonna
giving all your
sit there.
information to
I don't
AI.
care.
You're like, AI, here I am. And then you're just going to exit.
No, that's true. No, but you actually said something. Because I've been a broadcaster for 50 years and done so much in public, I feel like if anybody's going to give it all and forget privacy, it'd be me, because I have no privacy and haven't had it for years. So I'm a good guinea pig. I understand why anybody, especially you, Emily, would be reluctant to give over that information.
You're like an organ donor for AI.
I'm like an organ donor.
Take my organs.
I am.
Show title.
You can have my organs, but I'm gonna keep my tapes or something like that.
Not my organs, but they don't work so well anymore.
I like it. Organ donor for AI. That's
Organ
me.
donor for AI. That's clutch.
Our show today, actually, if you do care about privacy, this sponsor is for you. It's brought to you by DeleteMe. And I got to tell you, we use DeleteMe. And it all came down one day a couple of years ago when a text came out purporting to be from Lisa, our CEO, went to all of her direct reports saying, hey, I'm stuck in a meeting. I need to buy 100 Amazon gift cards right now. Use your company card, buy those cards, and send it to this address. Now, our employees are smart. They didn't fall for it. But what I realized is, wait a minute, they know way too much. They know Lisa, they know her phone number, they know her direct reports, they know their phone numbers. They know way too much. And what I realized is this is why we need DeleteMe. If you've ever searched for your name online and you didn't like how much personal information was available, you know why you need DeleteMe. It's because there are data brokers out there, and it's perfectly legal. who will sell any bit of information they can glean about you, down to and including your social security number. I just learned the other day that it's legal. It's legal for a data broker to sell your social security number. And by the way, it doesn't cost much, not much at all. So we signed up, by the way, for DeleteMe, and it worked. When we searched for the my name in the National Public Data Broker breach, remember that? And Steve Gibson's name, we found not only our name and address and phone number, but also our social security numbers. I then searched for Lisa's name. It wasn't there. Her social security number was protected. That's why you need DeleteMe. And maintaining privacy is not just about individuals. It's about your company. It's about your family, too. DeleteMe has plans for every kind of group, including family plans, so you can ensure that everyone in your family feels safe online. DeleteMe's very smart agents will help you reduce risk from identity theft, cybersecurity threats, harassment, and more by finding and removing your information from all the data brokers, hundreds of them. And it's really important because you want to use this service because it's hard to know who all these are. They make that their business. And there's new ones every day, and they also make that their business to find them. You can assign a unique data sheet to everybody in your family. It's tailored to them with easy-to-use controls. Account owners can manage privacy settings for the whole family. Then DeleteMe not only deletes that information, but it then continues to scan and remove your information regularly. That's really important because it will come back. I'm talking addresses, photos, emails, relatives, phone numbers, social media, property value, yes, even social security numbers. Protect yourself. Reclaim your privacy. Visit joindeleteme.com/twit. Joindeleteme.com/twit. Offer code TWIT. If you use the offer code TWIT, you'll get 20% off. Joindeleteme.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting us and the job they did protecting us. You know, if you have a company, your managers should absolutely be using it. Joindeleteme.com/twit. Well, this was a sad week. When we first started Twit back in the aught-5s, we used Skype because at the time that was the best way for me to get people on from all over the country, all over the world. Eventually, we built Colleen Kelly did it. She built something called Skypeosaurus. You might remember this in the early days of Twit. We had a different Mac Mini for each person on the panel. So we would have 3 or 4 Mac Minis for this panel. And then they would call into that Mac Mini, and then we would combine them all. And that way we get separate channels for each person, and I could mix out noise and so forth. Skype's coming to a close after 2 decades. Skype is over. Microsoft bought it. They spent $8.5 billion buying it 14 years ago. They announced they're killing it. In a couple of months, it's going to be over in May, and they're going to move everybody over to the much beloved Microsoft Teams. You're laughing, Yanko.
Yeah, everybody loves Teams. Everybody's favorite product. Skype is kind of sad. It's
very sad.
It was really the thing for me as somebody who moved to the US and a little over 20 years ago. That was the thing that kept me connected to my family back in Europe, and I used it all the time for calling. Remember when they used to do the thing where you could buy phone numbers through Skype?
I did that. My daughter in high school spent a year in France for $90. I was able to get unlimited video calls with her in France, and that's how we stay in touch.
In Japan.
Yeah.
Yanko, where are you from?
Germany.
Nice.
Big it up.
Skype was first released in August 2003, so it's 22 years old almost. Nicholas Zenstrom, Janus Fries, and 4 Estonian developers. eBay, remember eBay bought it briefly? Right. And then Microsoft bought it from eBay for $8.5 billion.
The thing about Zenstrom and Fries is those are the guy who built Kazaa, right? The file sharing thing. And Skype used the same technology. It was for the longest time, I don't know if it was in the end anymore, they probably switched it out on Microsoft, but for the longest time it was a peer-to-peer product essentially, where they had these, not to nerd out on it too much, but I used to write a P2P blog, so they used to have this super node structure where they were basically like super users that had a couple hundred people under them, and a whole peer-to-peer decentralized architecture, so it would work without servers, which was really impressive for keeping a couple of million people online. And
I know this very well because we use Skype for a long, long time to run the network, and we would have people turn off their super node, say, "Don't be a super node because you need all the bandwidth." And we got really good at getting Skype to sound and look really good. But when Microsoft bought it, you're exactly right, Yanko. They turned off the peer-to-peer feature. They started hosting all the calls. And frankly, that's when Skype's quality went downhill. It was better as a peer-to-peer network.
I think Skype is no doubt like probably one of the most famous and important technologies in terms of internet life. But I mean, we got to admit, it's kind of past its prime. I mean, does anyone still use Skype? I think it's fair.
In 2023, 36 million people used it daily.
Yeah.
What? Who?
Yeah. So this is funny. I'm sorry. It's funny Emily said that. So for Ecamm in the beginning, we ended up building our own interview part, but it used to be if I wanted to interview Leo and I'm using Ecamm, he would call in through Skype. But it got just problematic in mid 2020. So in 2021, we rolled out our own like interview situation, which was working kind of good. But then we just realized that everybody knows how to use Zoom. So Alex introduced me to Andy at NAB.
Andy Carluccio, yes. We love him.
Yeah, Andy's in the chat. I think he's hanging out somewhere. And then I was like, yo, your nerds need to talk to my nerds.
Yeah, when we migrated to Zoom, one of the things that was missing was this independent channel thing for each audio channel. And Zoom ISO, which Andy Carluccio wrote as an independent developer, and then Zoom acquired his company, made it possible to have separate channels for everybody.
But why did Skype not?
That was the death of Skype to me.
Yeah, why did Skype not win that race?
It's a really good question.
Happen?
I say the same thing about Citrix and WebEx as well, because they were prime. And then when they saw Zoom and Blue Jeans was these two little companies that were making a lot of noise, but nobody was really using it. And I swear to you, 3 months before the pandemic hit, I built a conference room for my buddy who owns a construction electric company here. And we did it off of the Citrix product, like Go to Room, because it's like, Zoom is a toy. Don't worry about it. And then the pandemic came and the Zoom went boom. And then I was like, oops.
Yeah.
So
Zoom,
I had to go back and retrofit that whole thing.
Zoom has a dorky name. Zoom. I mean, could be better. And there's other tech out there, but okay, this is so dumb, but it zoomed ahead, like it won. Amazing. Like how did this happen?
It's funny because we have three experts in our Club Twit chat right now. Andy Carluccio is there, who works for Zoom. Alex Lindsay, who became instrumental in moving us to Zoom, along with Andy. We had Skype TX appliances from our TriCaster fellows, VisRT, trying to get Skype to work in multiple. I mean, we did everything to make Skype survive, and it just, once Zoom took off, it was so much. Everybody knew how to use it. Look at the quality we're getting.
It's so good.
It's amazing.
You know what's funny to me about Zoom? Zoom matches almost Mike Tyson's little joke. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, and Zoom came in and punched everybody in the face.
Richard Campbell's
so all
also
of the big
in
dogs
there,
went down.
From our Windows Weekly, he's a Microsoft expert. He says the audio video DDL that runs Skype is the same one Teams uses. So in some respects, the Skype technology lives on in Teams, but nobody likes Teams that I know of. Yeah. He says Microsoft had to migrate off the peer-to-peer product that we were talking about, Yanko. Too much liability. They didn't, it makes sense for a big corporation to think, these calls are being hosted by anonymous people all over the world. We don't even know them. He also said they took on Skype for $8.5 billion because they owned endpoints all over the world to access the telephone system. Microsoft did. So buying Skype helped Microsoft turn into a kind of telco. I think that was a vision that has not survived over the last, 14 years.
Yeah, so Microsoft's 50th anniversary is in early April.
Oh.
And I have to write a piece about what does the next 50 years look like. And it's just interesting when you think about this, because it's kind of like Well, they kind of messed that up. So now Zoom kind of dethroned them. And then they have their Office products, and Google is competing with Sheets and Docs, and Gen Z really loves that web hosted service. So it's kind of like what's going to remain for
What's
AI,
next? You think there's
Microsoft.
something?
Yeah.
Do you think there's something that'll beat Zoom?
Well, they're all in on, AI, and Nadella is like patting himself on the back with his big ChatGPT investment, and they're adding Copilot into all their products. Like Excel has a Copilot button, and you can just ask it like write a formula for me. So
we have. For the first time ever, we've turned on Zoom's AI companion during the show. I'm very curious what we're going to get.
Man.
We've never used it before. We always use our own after the fact AI. So why did...
You know what is funny, Leo? Zoom is Patrick Mahomes. They're just really good, and
He's
they
the
dominate
GOAT.
it.
It's the GOAT.
And people try to hate it, but no matter how much you try to hate it, they just come back and go again and again and
Wait,
again.
I thought that the whole thing was we all agreed that the whole GOAT discussion was completely gone for Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm a Raiders fan. I can't stand him. But I mean, like,
you Niners fans. We're talking, by the way, about hand egg, sport ball. But so
Zoom is just too good, so nobody can out Zoom.
But so the pandemic obviously put Zoom on the map. But you asked the right question, Emily. Why Zoom? Why not Skype? Why not WebEx?
They were ready when the moment came, and everybody else was trying to win off of their status of where they were. They weren't trying to hear what the people wanted. And Zoom was ready and highly flexible. And this is my opinion. The best thing that happened to Zoom was in that third or fourth week of everybody talking about it, they had like the naked people showing up at everybody's call.
There was Zoom bombing. Remember the Zoom bombing?
Yeah, the Zoom bombing. So they had to fix that. So what they proved that nobody else would do, Skype would have problems, and so would Citrix or whatever, but Zoom was like, okay, we'll fix it. And they fixed it. Everybody else was still, we're Citrix, you're new, you don't know us, you do what we tell you.
Well, also remember
listening.
Remember, Zoom kind of got dinged because they claimed they were end-to-end encrypted, and then people said, well, you're not. And then they had to they went out and they hired people like Alex Stamos to fix it. They bought.
They listened to people and fixed it. That's why they're good, because they listened and fixed it instead of standing their laurels and beat their chest like we're the big tech guys. Shut up, muggle.
And I think everybody else built products for conference rooms. Essentially, they were like, we're going to build this big enterprise product, and then Zoom built a product for everybody that worked for schools and homeschooling and all this stuff. And really, if you had put those people on, if I had to deal with my kids being on WebEx or something, or Teams or Chime. Remember Chime that just shut down the Amazon product?
Yes, Amazon just shut down their version of this. So that's two.
That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't predict the trend.
Leo said it, and Alex backed it up, so I'll say it verbally. Zoom also went out and got good people. So when they saw what Andy was doing, they didn't get mad. A lot of companies would have got mad at what Andy was doing, but Zoom was like, oh, let's bring him in. And Andy definitely made Zoom better. So I'm going to back up my buddy Alex, because I don't want to have to fight with him when I get to
Zoom did something that I think was one of the main reasons they succeeded, but it also was one of the main reasons not to like them. When you installed Zoom, they installed a background process that would always run on your computer. And it's one of the reasons Zoom was so quick and easy to use, because it never stopped running. And it became a problem on the Mac side because they were also running a web server. And when people figured it out, they kind of got mad. But it was the secret sauce to some degree. Zoom was ready the minute you wanted to make a call. It just popped up, right?
I feel like, okay, here's a wacky theory. Do you think part of it is kind of sociological? Like people were just ready at that time for new tools. They were like, this whole pandemic thing is completely new. I need to reassess my whole life. I need the new thing. I have to meet the moment. And everyone was like, oh, it's Zoom. You need Zoom. You need Zoom. Because I was just using Zoom because people were saying you got to use Zoom now. But if everyone was like, oh, you need Skype or you need WebEx, I would have just used that. But it seemed like
Skype was
everyone rallied
during
behind
the pandemic. It caused so much trouble for us. It was always down and always broken and always not working. And then we were technically probably losing people to just doing it with Zoom. And so, I honestly think I think they were just good at the right time. And I swear to you, I stand on this business because I really believe that they listened while everybody else was being cocky.
Can I say something?
Malik wrote a story a couple of days ago saying basically Skype died because they had too many middle managers, and that was what they were relying on. And so that slowed them down to a crawl, while Zoom was coming in and like super fast fixing things as they came up.
I think it could have been as simple as it had a better name.
Well, I think Zoom
doesn't Zoom sound like a great thing? Don't you want it?
I think it sounds.
I think it's easy to remember. It's not a tech word. If you think about
Skype is a tech word.
WebEx, Skype, Zoom. Zoom is the only normal word there, and
is
so
a
that's
tech
muggle
word.
ready.
Yeah,
it's muggle ready.
Hi,
Blue
this is
Jeans
Benito.
Is not
so
a
like
tech word. But Blue Jeans sounds down market.
Hey, Benito on high.
So like what happened here is that Skype was garbage, really. Like it just was garbage. So like no one could use it properly. I was working at Twitch at the time, and we were doing a lot of this kind of stuff also. And Skype just never worked. And that's really it. Like if Skype had just worked maybe 75 to 80% of the time, it wouldn't have lost.
And they started adding these weird features to it where suddenly there was news in your Skype feed, or you had a Skype feed for why would you need a Skype feed? You just wanted to talk to people, right?
So they didn't predict the trend. They were developing a product for something else that the way things happened didn't end up being what people needed, and they didn't predict that we would all be using video chats all the time.
Let me read what else Ohm said, because I think it's really good. This is Ohm's blog at ohm.co. Microsoft now talks about Teams being their focus, showing that even today they haven't realized what made Skype a cultural consumer force. Microsoft Teams is a terrible product, and I dread using it. In the simplest terms, Teams is a perfect encapsulation of a bureaucratic, archaic, and outdated 50-year-old company that's trying to reinvent itself as an AI leader. Does Ohm hate Microsoft?
I agree. That's what I was saying. I agree.
He says, for now, let's call it what it is. Microsoft bought and effectively killed Skype. I could write a PhD dissertation on this. For now, this is all I have to say. Microsoft didn't know how to nurture Skype, and its bureaucracy killed one of the most iconic brands of the new century.
Yes.
That's actually, he's right, isn't it?
100%. And so this makes it funny, because we said that Skype was a tech word, but at the time, that's what everybody was doing, making up these weird words. You know, your Skypes, your Googles, your Yahoos, your, not Linkos, what was it called? I forget. Anyway, people were making up these weird Web 2.0 words, and everybody was about that life. So it got so popular that Oprah would call people on Skype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's when I knew that they had made it when I saw Oprah using it on the show. And then Microsoft bought it and crushed it.
It also, and Yanko, your use and my use with my daughter in France confirms this. It killed the long distance calling business.
100%.
It was so much cheaper than a long distance call.
It was called Skype Out number, right? I remember buying a Skype Out number.
Skype in and Skype out.
And I
had a Skype in number too. You could call me by phone.
And so when I got to Japan and I was able to call home all the time and just check to make sure everything was good, it was such an amazing situation. And I remember we were talking about this earlier about that corny moment from panels, but I remember the first time I'm sitting on a call and we had, at that time, my buddy Patrice was in Germany, and then I'm here, and then my other friend was in California, and we're having a conversation over Skype, like the whole Twit team. I'm sorry, to our team. And we're like, is this wild? We're in so many different places and we can have this conversation right now. You know?
Financial Times interviewed Nicholas Zenstrom, one of the founders, just the other day. He said, Skype was a revolutionary product of its time, and I'll always be proud and grateful for the early team members and investors who took a chance on us. Now other firms are innovating in this space to offer new services for a whole new generation, many of whom will have no idea how expensive it used to be to call Australia. You don't remember this, Emily, but it used to be when you were calling long distance, you'd say, I got to make this quick. It's long distance, right? It was so calling home from Germany or calling Germany from America was $1 a minute. It was hugely expensive.
And
I
the other way
remember that because
around,
my grandma still thinks that's the case when she calls me across the country.
Emily, I can't talk long. I'm calling long distance.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be this whole thing when I still lived in Germany where you had to call a number before you dialed the actual number to then pay another company and like a weird
calling cards.
Oh, yeah, you'd have a calling card.
We had that calling card.
Yeah. You call the calling card number.
Here.
so that you could get it down to $1 a minute instead of $5 a minute or whatever. Yeah. MCI. That's how MCI.
Dude, and a phone drop. That's where we got Sprint, the FON, because Sprint had the phone drop commercial. They needed FON.
Memory lane, kids.
Phone cards.
First cassettes, now Skype. That's
I think Skype, you got a skill in life is you have to know when to say goodbye, when you got to hang up the hat. I think Skype did its time. It was amazing. Maybe someone on this call will write a book about Skype. We have some Skype aficionados.
So Skype is Tyson and Zoom is Logan Paul?
Yeah. I think it's over. It's okay. Like Microsoft has a new tech. They think they're going to make better, whatever. But why would they want to keep nursing this like dying video conferencing software?
The thing that I'm really sad about is that my father-in-law to this day calls it Skype. Really cute. And I'm going to miss that. I think I'm going to miss that the most.
I'm going to call you on Skype.
Good.
The other thing that was interesting, before Spotify, Skype was a European company. It was an Estonian company. And that was pretty novel, at least in the US, that there would be a European startup that was so dominant.
I actually saw that Estonia and ChatGPT made some kind of deal this week where they're giving all students in Estonian public schools ChatGPT. And
Wow.
I'm not kidding. This is real. Like
Estonia is very digital first. Like a lot of former Soviet satellites, they're trying to find their way in a new world. And they early on said, our way forward is going to be digital, a digital economy. They have a digital ID card. It's actually a really cool country.
Have you been there?
Yeah, many times. Well,
wow,
twice.
Really?
2 times. That's many times.
It's like, what?
1 too many. Well, not many, almost many.
I would say 2 times being to Estonia is many times.
Well, it's not yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not
maybe I'm
first
sounding
place.
too American. I don't know. I've never considered going there.
It's a beautiful, beautiful. Tallinn is a beautiful city. I remember walking through it, Lisa and I, and a guy running up to me saying, "Oh, Leo, I've been looking for you. I knew you were in Estonia." And I guess it's small enough he found me. But he
Awesome.
was going to Parliament because he had designed this year's Estonian Christmas card. And he was going up to Parliament to show it to them. I hope you're still listening. If you are, I remember you. Let's take a little break. More memory lane? I don't know. I have to look, but maybe. I hope you're enjoying the show. We are. Emily Forlini, Yanko Reckers, Doc Rock. Great to have all 3 of you. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Love ZipRecruiter. Look, I like being a podcaster, having my own shows, interviewing incredible guests. We had Stephen Wolfram on Wednesday, and having a wonderful team, people like Benito that help make it happen. If you're doing what you love to do, there's nothing better than being surrounded by people who love it as much as you do. And if you own your own business, that's the goal, right? That's what you're trying to do, to hire employees who love what they do, who love the work. That makes everybody happy. They succeed, the business succeeds. And it makes it a great place to work, even if you're remote like we are. So how do you find those passionate employees who are a good fit for all of your roles? Well, I'll tell you how we do it. ZipRecruiter. Right now, you can try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter is the hiring site employers prefer the most, according to G2. But I will also say we love it. ZipRecruiter's smart technology starts showing your job to qualified candidates immediately. But even better, their powerful matching technology works to find the top talent that fit your requirements. They send you a list. They say, "Hey, we have resumes from people looking for work who seem like they'd be a good fit. What do you think?" You go through it. You use ZipRecruiter's amazing screening technology with, their variety of ways. It reformats all the resumes and makes it very easy to say, "Yeah, let's invite," and then you invite the ones you really like, the top candidates, to apply. Now, in a world where you're competing for the best people with many other companies, that's a really big asset. Because when you invite somebody to apply for your job, they're flattered. You go right to the top of the heap. They say, yeah, you want me? Well, I want you. I love it. They give you a pre-written invite to apply message that you can So you don't even have to write it, right? That you can reach out to your favorite candidates. It's very nice, very personal. We've used it. We've used ZipRecruiter. Anytime there's an opening, we use ZipRecruiter, and it really works fast to get you qualified people. Hire experienced people who are excited about what they do, about what you do with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For Lisa and me, it's often within the first hour or two. It's amazing. See for yourself. Go to our exclusive web address. Try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Please use that address so they know you saw it here. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. I will vouch for it. It really works. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. We thank them so much for supporting our little show here, and we are having some fun. I think just to briefly go back to Skype, it was the technology that made Twit possible. And it was the technology we used for the first, 10, 15 years of Twit. We're going to be 20 years old next month. So I feel a little sad. I think we use Zoom now, and we've been using Zoom since the pandemic, so 5 years, and it's been great. But Skype, thank you, Nicholas, for a great product that we wouldn't be here without. So I just wanted to say that. It's kind of sad to lose it. But again, we stopped using it years ago, so I can't really. It's a little hypocritical of me, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm coming in as the hatchling naysayer. Like I didn't have the memories from it.
You don't have any fondness for it at all.
I do have some fondness for it, of course, but not the same way you guys do. I didn't build a business with Skype,
right.
And so my unemotional view is just like, yeah, it's time to kill it. But I understand.
It's probably time to kill it. It is.
Yeah, but you can also, give it a ceremonial burial, which I think we're doing here.
I mean, look, we've gotten rid of Skypeosaurus. We sold those machines off years ago. I mean, we don't, the Skype TX machines we got rid of. So, we've been Zoom for a long time. And really a lot of credit to Andy Carluccio for making it possible for us to use Zoom like this. And to Ecamm, Doc, I give you some credit because Ecamm's integration with Zoom is a big part of why we still use Zoom,
It's just one of those things that everybody knows how to do now. And I think that greased the wheel. Like even still, at some point we had to teach people how to use Skype. Like Zoom, you just click a link, you're good.
Well, and look at network news. I mean, I was reminiscing with Jeff Jarvis. He was on CNN not so long ago, and I think last Wednesday actually, and he had to go in. And I remember going to be on CNN. You had to go to a satellite bureau, and you'd sit there, and you'd have the earpiece, and now it's all Zoom, or actually, I guess they use WebEx, but whoever they made a deal with. But the aesthetic has changed. The technology has changed. You see people in their living rooms and kitchens.
That can be weird.
It is a little strange, and it's hard but getting used to that. And you see them wearing AirPods and.
Yeah, I'm doing a bi-weekly segment on CBS for tech news. And
neat.
I'm literally just in this room. And
it's
then I'm just in a studio, like a huge picture of me. And then there's the anchor talking to me, and I'm on the Zoom. And I'm just like, well, guys.
Where can we see that? I didn't know you were doing that. That's chat. Great.
Yeah, it's just through work. It's like a PC Mag opportunity.
Nice.
So
I've seen it cool. I've seen it on CBS. I can send you some things to make your studio dope.
Yeah, look at his studio. It's dope.
Yeah.
But then they'll think you're like DJ. What is it? MC DJ Rock?
No, she can be DJ Info. Get it? Because you're here for the info. Get it?
Info.
Yeah, I love it.
So, whose studio do you like better? I mean, background. Do you like Doc Rock's or do you like this? Isn't this nice? This is nice.
You guys are definitely competing directly, I would say.
I think this is pretty special, what I got here.
I love it. We just did a show where we were talking about people building their studio rooms, and I used yours as one of the examples.
Oh, thank you.
Because I absolutely love it.
Well, I have it, I credit to Anthony Nielsen and Burke McQuinn and Russell Tammany who put this all together. It doesn't look as as nice from the other side. I have to tell you, it's kind of dumpy, to be honest.
No, don't break the fourth
We call
wall.
that the cone of cleanliness.
Yeah, I had to get some trash out of the way, but you saw me grab it. Oh, my gum's sitting there. Never mind. Oh, well.
I feel like Doc Rock kind of looks like you have like a fog machine going or something.
You should have a fog machine.
It's the DJ vibe. It's the DJ
air
vibe.
is
And
thick.
now, you know what I have? I have what's called a black pro mist filter. And anybody that shoots video, it's like something you should do, especially when you pass. See, you're not old enough yet. When you pass 50, you want a black pro mist filter
Oh,
in your lens.
God, I'm so far past 50. I need the double Pro Mist
Get a
filter.
Black Pro Mist filter, like a 1.8, and you're good.
Is
It
that
adds
like
little
Vaseline
highlightation.
on the lens? What is that?
Almost like it adds highlightation to the highlights, and then it kind of like smooth things out. Yeah.
Can I get one of those, Anthony? Because
So
look
you've
at me.
been deceiving us.
I look
Oh,
so
100%.
old.
Dude, I'm old.
With the wrinkles.
Yeah.
Like, what's going
I
on
need
over
the
there?
filter.
They say black don't crack, but it sure as hell wrinkles. So
Good. No, you look really good. You look like a young man.
Yeah, I just use it for the highlightation because it makes the lights, look better and
Highlightation.
not so yelly in your face, right? And that's why on the DJI Osmo, what do you call it, little Nick thing? I have it right here. That's why that's the most popular filter because it looks really good at night.
I'm writing this down. I got to order this sucker right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to
So-
be moving and you're going to have to redo my whole thing.
You're
just kinda like,
moving? You just got there.
moving. Yeah, I know.
Where are
But
you moving to?
I'm just moving like across town because
Oh,
we bought
You're
a
going
house.
to stay in New
so-
Jersey. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So just,
Do you have a dog
upgrade.
yet?
No, we have a cat.
Okay, so first you buy the house, then you get the dog, but you know what comes after that? I don't want to say, but
Mhm. Yes. Did
yes,
you?
no, I don't want to say. I told you I don't want to say. So the biggest heist and at first I was saying the biggest crypto heist, but I realized if it weren't for crypto, you would never steal. How would you steal $1.4 billion from a armored car? You couldn't, right? Or from a bank. The biggest heist in history. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. The Bybit crypto. I think they're the number 2 crypto exchange. Lost $1.4 billion in Ethereum, and now it is pretty clear it's the North Korean government hacking group Lazarus Group that did it. They know that because it went to a wallet that Lazarus Group has used before. Law enforcement pretty much seems to agree. The same wallets used against Femex and BingX and PollenX. This is in North Korea. Of course, they have a problem with hard currency, right? So one of the ways they get hard currency is by stealing cryptocurrency and converting it into dollars and other hard currencies. So at least I guess that maybe is that a little reassuring that it wasn't just some guy. No.
Instead, it was like an organized ring.
Say it was a nation state hackers.
Yeah, that's reassuring.
Not really, Leo. Yeah, not.
It was actually a very sophisticated heist because one of the things Bybit did to protect the wallet is they had multi-signers. It was like in the nuclear facility when 2 people have to turn the keys in opposite sides of the room to launch the missiles. Multiple people had only had part of the keys, had to sign in, and they used a very sophisticated hack to get to fake that basically. So it's kind of impressive. Largest heist ever. The regime's hackers, Lazarus Group, has been linked to at least 58 crypto heists. And last year, they stole $650 million in crypto hacks. This year, one hack, $1.4 billion.
I think everyone just doesn't know what to do with all the hacks in the world. Everyone feels so powerless. I mean, crypto, you maybe don't buy crypto, but it's like every day there's a new hack, and that's probably why everyone's quiet. It's like at this point, what do we say? What
are
do we
you going to do? Breaches
No
and
one knows.
hacks. Yeah.
And we just keep giving our data over, and we're all just kind of like, hope this works out.
Jimmy in our
funniest
YouTube
meme
chat
the
is
other
saying
day.
you could steal $1.4 billion in diamonds. Okay, but has anyone ever done that, Jimmy, is the question.
Only on Mission Impossible. I saw the funniest meme the other day. And it was so funny, but yet it was so true. So, you get these messages all the time. They're just like, hey. And then, they expect you to start a conversation. Now, we know better because, again, we're not muggles. But somebody was like, hey, is that you? And the person in the meme said, you know what? Just send me the scam links already. I don't have time for this. Insert your favorite bad word. And that thing made me laugh so hard because I get like 20 of those freaking messages a day and they drive me crazy. And then I signed up for one of those services like Leo was talking about, and it has slowed down, but they're just so obnoxious. And we know better than to answer them. But I know lots of people who answer them, and I'm like, please don't talk to them because
I know.
You're just making it worse. But oh my God, it's super obnoxious.
Yeah, I got hit with one this past 2 weeks. I've been getting calls from the same like scam operation, and now I'm just like, is this my new reality? Like, why do those things start and why do they end? It's just
oh God, they're obnoxious.
So speaking of the Trump meme coin, $12 billion in value lost. That's a lot of people who, that's another kind of heist, isn't it? $12 billion. Melania is even worse, but I don't think as many people bought Melania. So that's maybe better, I guess.
Melania, my girl, what are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? So there is Congress, this won't pass, but a California Democrat has introduced legislation to prohibit the company's top officials and their families from capitalizing on meme coins. It's called, and I love this, the Modern Emoluments and Malfeasance Enforcement Act. The Meme Act would prohibit the president, vice president, members of Congress, senior executive branch officials, and their spouses and dependent children from issuing, sponsoring, or endorsing a security, future, commodity, or digital asset.
Well, that's good. I feel like the adults have entered the room on that one.
Well, first of all, he's never going to get through Congress, but it seems like they shouldn't have to make a law to prevent that. There is the Emoluments Act, which has been around like as long as the country's been around.
They made Carter sell his peanut farm,
They made Jimmy sell his peanut farm, but no, your $sign Trump. Let's make corruption criminal again, said the congressperson. Our public offices belong to the public.
Yeah, it's like I said, like the adults have entered the room. It's like a parent with a teenager. Like you shouldn't have to tell them not to.
You shouldn't have to say this.
Banana peels all over the kitchen and pretend it's Mario Kart. But if they start putting banana peels, you got to be like, by the way, you can't put banana peels everywhere. And that's kind of like the vibe with this whole situation.
Wow. Now I do have to say, okay, so people are going to say, Leo, don't be political, but I do want to say, thank you. I never thought I'd say this to our new director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. So you may remember that the UK, it was never fully confirmed by the UK, told Apple that they would have to provide a backdoor to their advanced data protection end-to-end encryption on iCloud. This was leaked, and a number of publications reported it. Apple, in effect, confirmed it by the next week, saying, yeah, we're not going to offer ADP to anybody in the UK anymore. Apparently, there is an agreement between Washington and London not to do that. The Biden Justice Department kind of downplayed, according to the Washington Post, the demand for an Apple backdoor. On Tuesday, DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard called the British demand an egregious violation of American rights. And on Wednesday, lawmakers asked the Justice Department to investigate. Right on. Right on. It turns out there was a kind of probably not publicized agreement that Britain wouldn't try to spy on Americans and America wouldn't try to spy on Britons. But remember, this UK order wasn't just for UK citizens. It said anyone in the world using advanced data protection. So good. I hope this administration takes this seriously and protects our encryption. It is a little contrary to what previous administrations, previous directors of national intelligence, previous FBI and CIA directors have said. They all have said they want end-to-end encryption to have a backdoor because that's how law enforcement has to work in order to catch bad guys, terrorists, and pedophiles.
So that's how it works. Like it's encrypted unless law enforcement wants access.
Yeah. So until advanced data protection, Apple had the keys to iCloud. And if law enforcement, and this happened again and again, in fact, they just caught some guys. Do you remember the heist where some major sports figures like Travis Kelce got their houses broken into while they were on the road? You were on a televised football game. And then the bad guys broke into his house and stole all his fancy watches. Well, they also made the mistake of taking selfies of each other with the contraband and posting it on their iCloud, right? And of course, Apple turned it over to authorities. The authorities must have figured, oh, we think we know this, and asked for it. And they got busted. But they weren't using ADP. If they were using ADP, Apple would not have been able to do that. And in the UK now, Apple will always be able to turn over anybody in the UK's information because they don't allow them to have end-to-end encryption.
Sounds complex. It sounds like you want it to just work however benefits you most. Like if you committed a crime, you don't want them to be able to access the data because then, can't do
the problem is, and I think we've said this many times, that if you put a backdoor in, it never ends up being only for law enforcement. Any backdoor means that it's not going to work well. And we know this from CALEA, the Law Enforcement Act of, 1996 or something, where the director of the FBI at the time said, we need a backdoor into digital telephony. We need backdoor into phone systems because we can't wiretap the bad guys anymore because they're using digital phone systems. Congress approved CALEA. And, what a surprise. Here we are in 2025, and the government's saying, we can't get Chinese hackers out of our phone system. They used that same loophole, that same backdoor. So, it was good for law enforcement, but it was also good for Chinese hackers who now live in our phone system. And then the government has said, it's going to be too expensive to get them out. We'd have to shut down the phone system, the national phone system, for a day in order to get them out and upgrade all our equipment. And so we're not going to do that.
Maybe they can just move everybody over to Skype for a day.
Before it shuts down, just for a day, you all use Skype.
Trap the Chinese there, the Chinese hackers, and then shut it down early.
Then shut it down. They'll never get out. Anyway, I am often critical of the administration, but in this case, I would, and I don't. We'll see what happens because it is somewhat unpredictable. But at least Tulsi Gabbard understands that the UK demanding that Apple eliminate its end-to-end encryption was a violation of an agreement that the Cloud Act's requirement that the terms of the agreement shall not create any obligation that providers be capable of decrypting data. If this administration stands up for end-to-end encryption, I'll be very happy. That will be something to laud them for, and I want to make sure that I'm fair enough to laud them when it's due. On the other hand, maybe the reason that we don't have Restream anymore is because it's been shut down in Ukraine. I don't know. One thing I'm not thrilled about, Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of Defense, has ordered the Cybercommand to stand down from all planning against Russia, including offensive digital actions. We were hacking them. We were attempting to hack them because, of course, Russia hacks us all the time. In fact, it is widely considered that a lot of the ransomware gangs coming out of Russia are operating with the tacit support of the Russian government. The NSA. Sorry?
Why did he do that? I feel like I'm just missing something with this administration in Russia. Why is it not a problem that they are working so closely with Russia and they're telling people to stop hacking Russia?
Inquiring minds would like to know, why would you shut that down? Furthermore, the CISA, the security folks who have been up to now very protective of our elections, has been basically shut down by Doge.
Yeah, like that's kind of...
The CISA has placed several members of the election security group, especially those focused on misinformation and disinformation, on administrative leave. The U.S. Digital Service has been taken over by Doge, and there's a government group that I did not know about, that I don't think is widely known, called was it F-18? No, it's F-18. Yeah, it's F-18. This is the group that, like the U.S. Digital Services, helps the government with modern technologies, including the IRS direct file system. Right,
which was a huge win for people to help.
I think it's a win.
Digitally, that was one of a very exciting thing.
Elon tweeted about, or X'd, or whatever you call it, about 3 weeks ago that they had shut down direct file, which surprised me because, of course, direct file was a free tax filing system that for years companies like TurboTax, Intuit's TurboTax, and H&R Block's tax prep software fought against, because they wanted you to pay them to do your taxes. They pretended to have
lobby situation,
they lobbied hard against it.
Yeah, but now they're happy, they're thrilled.
Well, that's what's interesting. The IRS had a trial last year with direct file. It was very popular. I think 18 to 20 states, very popular. When Elon said deleted, I immediately went to direct file and started to file my taxes, and it was fine. But apparently, Elon knew a little bit more than I did about what was coming, because now the company that wrote the software has been deleted. So maybe you
can't use that for your taxes this year.
Well, I don't know if it's still up or not.
If it breaks, nobody's around to fix it anymore.
If it breaks, no one will fix it. Yeah, and it will.
There'll be a mess in the middle. People already started, and then people who were early, they started, but then like anybody that comes now, you're not going to get in. Like that would be absolute mess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and giving in to those companies, the GSA has eliminated. This is the latest workforce action for the General Services Administration. The entire team of 90 employees who worked for 18F, a government tech consultancy that helps other agencies with their technology.
I saw today that Mark Cuban apparently offered to sort of fund them as an outside group, with the logic that eventually everything's going to break and the government needs to hire them again, and then they can become outside consultants and keep their jobs and do good work. So
Elon, like if you're going to privatize it, I would get as many of the people in the office except Todd, because Todd's Todd, and I would start a whole H&R Block. Hopefully with somebody, one of our friends from the Valley would keep them going, because it was great. It actually worked. It worked better than TurboTax and all the rest of those things.
Well, that's the thing. Like Elon is supposed to be pro-tech, and that was finally the government was getting techie, and you could file your taxes instead of having to pay some other tech company to do it. So that was a real marker of the government becoming more tech forward. And so I that seems like something that they would keep.
Elon tweeted that group has been deleted. He retweeted somebody who said it's a far left government-wide computer office. I'm not sure how it's far left. It is now gone.
Everything that is free and publicly run is far left in the logic of something.
Oh, okay. Is that it? It's like considered.
Well, I'm sure Intuit and H&R Block are thrilled, right?
Well, and guarantee you those two, H&R Block and Intuit, are definitely not far left. But it's funny, like these guys get to the thing where it's like, okay, listen, I have admitted 100,000 times I am a diehard Raiders fan, but I cannot be like, oh, Tom Brady's the worst quarterback that ever lived. That's just stupid. He was good. I can't stand him, but he was good. These guys can't do that. That's the part that makes it so upsetting, is they will just pick a line because the line is there and put no normal logic, whatever, and realize that in the end, if we start to make our government less tech capable, that makes us vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It is very odd that you would kill 18F, given that it was dedicated to keeping our government technology modern and secure and up to date. Same thing with CISA.
Well, maybe what he wants to do is it took his glory, kind of like he wants to see that model, and then like he wants to launch a new tax service and get the credit for it.
I also just Googled this really quick. Apparently Intuit paid $1 million for the inauguration. So,
they've lobbied hard for a long time against any government-free filing. I guess, if you don't, it's impossible to impute the intent or the reasons why. We just don't know enough about why you would do this. But it may be that if you feel all government is bad, that any way to file your taxes through the government would be bad. You should be done by free enterprise. But who's going to collect the taxes? The government. What does the tax money go to? The government.
Right.
So I just don't understand. There, and I wonder if this will proceed there, because he's already fired 6,000 people from the Internal Revenue Service. Maybe we shouldn't file our taxes this year. Who's gonna stop us?
Right.
I heard something that was really good recently, and it kind of nailed it. So the idea of government, in theory, for just about anybody, is about service. And so I remember way back in the day when I was a little kid and I just got a chance to vote, I was like, oh, Ross Perot would be great for government because he's a business person. And, it made the most sense to me because I was going to school to be, a business person. But it turns out that government can't be profitable. Government's job is service. It's not to be profitable. So unless you're ready to run a service-oriented business that its intention is not to make a profit, we're going to always keep breaking stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work. Because if it worked, then if it was profitable, then it's like, oh yeah, the ambulance will come if you pay first. Oh, the fire department will come if you pay first. It's like
well, it used to be. I don't know. You remember The Gangs of New York? Martin Scorsese's great movie about 19th century New York City.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, with Daniel Day-Lewis. It used to be fire departments were private. They would set fires in order to make some money. And worse, if there were a house on fire, the competing fire departments would show up and say, well, who are you going to pay to put that fire out, and how much you're going to pay? They would auction off the cost of putting that fire out. So I don't know if private fire departments are such a good idea. I definitely don't want a private police force.
Well, this one's like, I went to the library a couple of years ago with my niece, and the library was hosting a class on how to file your taxes because it's so complicated. And that was a service the library was providing. And, a lot of people there didn't speak English or, didn't have money to pay for a private tax service. And there's a real swath of people that struggle to file their taxes. And
it's ridiculously complicated.
Exactly. Yeah. But if they don't do it, they're criminals. And so it's a real problem that the government created and it was trying to fix. And so I think
Janko, in Germany, you don't fill out a big tax form. The government tells you what you owe and you pay it. Probably they already took it.
You do have to file taxes. You do have to file out things.
In Scandinavia, they send you a postcard. I'm not sure what they do in Germany. In Scandinavia, they send you a postcard. They say, according to our calculations, you made this much, you owe this much. Thank you. We already took it out of your account. I can see why people wouldn't like that idea. By the way, I did go to the direct file. My current tax return is, it's still there. It's still online. I am still, continuing my 2024 federal tax return. So it's not down, but I think you kind of nailed it, Janko, when you said, but if anything goes wrong, there's no one who wonders who could fix it because no one understands it. I think
it
that's
just
sad.
Feels like there should be more accountability for like why a service that touched so many people just can get pulled like that. Like it feels almost like your rights are being taken at that point. And everyone's just so beside themselves with what's happening in Washington right now, and again, so powerless and people are also afraid of Elon Musk. Like, they don't want to speak out against him. So people feel frozen on this topic, and it's like someone just needs to break through and be like, what the heck is going on?
I think we also started a culture of hating taxes. Like, I don't know when that started, because I don't remember it back when I was a little kid, but I remember it as, I guess, sort of as a teenager. Like, maybe it was 84 or whatever after Reagan, but like our whole culture of like, trying to avoid paying taxes, or I hate paying taxes, or taxes are bad, or whatever. It's kind of crazy, because I've lived in a bunch of different countries, and other countries just don't think that way. They just think it's something that you have to do. But like, we have a visceral reaction to it, even though we use things that are heavily tax subsidized on a daily basis and have no problem using this stuff. I just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, like roads.
Yeah, the irony
Like
is
roads.
Elon Musk's billions and Elon Musk's businesses all come from heavy government subsidy, including SpaceX and Tesla.
Yeah, I think it's like almost $3 billion has gone to Tesla for government subsidies.
Yeah. Let's take a little break. We need a little subsidy from our sponsor. We'll have more with Yanko Reckers, Doc Rock, Emily Forlini. You're watching This Week in Tech, brought to you this week by Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Enterprises to date have spent billions of dollars on security measures that aren't working anymore. Firewalls, perimeter protections to keep the bad guys from getting in. And then, of course, you have to have a VPN so your employees can get in. It hasn't helped. Breaches continue to rise. There's been an 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks. In 2024, a record $75 million payout. And honestly, it probably is a lot more, but people just don't want to admit that they got bit. The problem is that these traditional security tools are expanding your attack surface. VPNs have public-facing IPs. There's somewhere a bad guy can hang their hat, and they can do it more easily than ever, faster than ever, with AI tools writing the malware. Plus, once a bad guy gets into your network, you make the assumption, well, anybody inside the network's got to be an employee, it's got to be safe, right? So they're able to move laterally within the network, look for all the places you back things up, and start exfiltrating things you probably don't want the public to see, like your customers' information or your private emails. And those VPNs struggle to inspect encrypted traffic at scale, allowing complete compromise. It's not a good situation. Hackers are exploiting traditional security infrastructure using AI to outpace your defenses. It's time to rethink your security. We can't let the bad guys win. They're innovating faster than we are and exploiting your defenses. But there's good news. The solution is zero trust. Zscaler, zero trust plus AI. It doesn't assume that anybody in the network is a good guy. It eliminates lateral movement within the network, connecting users only to the specific apps they are authorized to connect to and not everything else. It also hides your attack surface, making apps and IPs invisible. Plus, it continuously verifies every request based on identity and context, simplifying security management with AI-powered automation. And they need the AI because Zscaler analyzes over 500 billion daily transactions. Most of those completely legitimate, but you need AI to find those needles in the haystack, the transactions that are fraudulent or malware or attempts to break in, 0 days, etc. This is the bottom line. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. Protect your organization with Zscaler, zero trust plus AI. It really works. Learn more at zscaler.com/security. Zscaler.com/security. I did not see this. Do you use Instagram? Apparently, it was flooded with violent content. Meta has apologized for an error that filled some users' reel feeds with graphic videos of people getting killed. This happened on Wednesday. What kind of error? I don't know.
Zuckerberg pressed share screen. Share screen. The videos, which were recommended on some users' Reels tab, included
well, I don't even want to say what it was, let alone show you pictures of it. Some of the videos had sensitive content warnings, but others did not. Wall Street Journal had this story saying a Wall Street Journal reporter's account features scores of videos of people being shot, mangled by machinery, ejected from theme park rides, often back to back.
What? They just backed up the garbage truck and just dumped it on everyone?
View counts on some of the promoted videos suggested that Instagram's recommendations had massively boosted their viewership. View counts going into the millions.
Maybe that was it. There was like a machine learning thing where it was just trying to get the most views, and it accidentally tapped
some
on
sort of
file.
Yeah. A Instagram spokesperson said, "We apologize for the mistake."
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
We have fixed an error. By the way, even after Meta admitted it and said they fixed it, this Wall Street Journal's reporters feed was still full of horrific stuff, appearing next to advertisements for law firms, massage studios, and Temu, which is, if you don't know, a Chinese e-commerce. Spokesperson said that the torrent of videos was unrelated to the company's decision to adjust its content moderation policies.
Could that be like you could sue them for harassment or emotional distress?
If you have bad dreams and you can't sleep well at night because of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Meta removed more than 10 million pieces of. But what's interesting is they had these videos, right?
Right.
That they were in the system.
There's a trove. There's a trove.
It's a treasure trove of violent imagery.
I mean, that does not sound good. I mean, that's what's going on.
They say they removed more than 10 million pieces of violent and graphic content from Instagram in the July through September period of last year. That was in its transparency report.
Now we know how the people who used to moderate stuff for Instagram felt like, because that was basically their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Just these videos nonstop.
There's a great report I saw recently about these people having problems now because they had to do all of that vetting.
Oh, it's traumatic.
They had to watch so much of it, like they're just like completely checked out and, you know, fighting for their, what is it? Like you're trying to get the company to pay for their health stuff, but a lot of these guys got fired, right? And then so they're Cobra, that's the word I'm looking for, fighting for Cobra exchanges and things like that, because like they're still effed up, but their Cobra's going away.
Yeah. And Meta says, well, sorry.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to say.
Well, by the way, Cobra is also garbage and crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So,
that's after you lose your job, the 6 months continuation of your health benefits.
Consolidated,
but you have to pay for
Reconciliate Benefits Act.
That's good. You left out an R there somewhere.
I'm sorry, Consolidated Omnibus Benefits Reconciliation Act, Cobra.
Wow, I'm impressed. You're better than an AI, Doc Rock. That's good. How did you know that? I'm impressed.
Man, my brain is broken, bro.
Grant the journal quotes one person, a 25-year-old who works in the supply chain industry, saying he was shocked to see graphic videos of people getting shot and run over on Reels on Wednesday. It's hard to comprehend. This is what I'm being served. I watched 10 people die today. What? Jeez. You kept scrolling? What? Robinson said similar videos are being surfaced to all his male friends aged 22 to 27.
Oh, that's interesting.
Why I didn't see none.
We were not in the right demographic. It's the Joe Rogan crowd.
Radicalize our young men out here one day at a time.
Fascinating. By the way, YouTube says it now has more than 1 billion monthly viewers of podcasts.
100%.
Wow. This is from Variety, your old home.
No, this actually came from the CEO himself. And
he said it.
He broke it down. Here's what's crazy. So I've been preaching this forever because I coach YouTubers, right? And I've been telling everybody, like, yeah, short is cool and short is a nice flash in the pan, but you really want to stick to your long form content, and you need to remember that people are watching this on TV. So not only do they have that much people in podcasts, but they have over 1 billion hours of people watching podcasts on TVs. So just like when
not on their phones, not on their computers, but on their televisions in the living room.
So
really
like Emily, when you're doing the Bay News, K-Pix, whatever, that like people are watching that on YouTube on their 65 at home. Like, so it's not
good.
just
You
there,
look so great, Emily Forlini, and have a 4K camera.
For us. We have a face for radio. But I think that's super impressive because it finally beat the other streaming platforms or device. I'm sorry. It used to be, everyone's watching on your phone, and that conversation is gone. Most people are watching on TV in the US.
It's kind of nice. It kind of feels like we defeated the vertical video trend in part.
Oh.
Like there's life beyond.
More than that, we're defeating TV. We're defeating the networks. We're defeating television. But it's funny. It cracks me up, though, because he says podcasts with video are more than just a trend.
That's funny.
We've been doing video since 2008.
Leo,
people mocked me for doing video. They said, you're a podcast. What are you doing video for?
Yo, I'm at a podcast event last month and I fought for your honor because people are like, it's not a podcast because YouTube doesn't have an RSS feed and blah, blah, blah. And video is just a fad. I'm like, bro, we've been doing video. We had a video podcast that's about to be 20 years old. We've been doing this mess for ever. And I was like, Leo was one of the first.
Thank you.
Back in the day. And I'm like, you
said Leo, or did you say, I know this guy who was.
No, I said Leo.
Okay,
Leo. You know why? Because Tim, you remember Tim Stewart, right? He got a
Tim Street.
He got a podcaster Street. He got a podcaster Hall of Fame award. And so we were talking about it. And so we were trying to defend because the audio guys are mad that like podcasting and video is getting so big.
You know what? Tell them they don't have to worry. There's still plenty of people who listen to audio podcasts.
100%. It's not that they don't listen. These guys don't want to do video because they think it's more work. I'm like, video is technically easier if you ask me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's more expensive. That's for sure.
Definitely more expensive.
How much do you think that costs? You know, I mean, it's not cheap, this stuff. Tim Street, though, let me just point out, because I've been around for a while. I've known Tim since back in the day. He ran French-made TV. You remember that?
Yes, he did. That's so good.
It was women. I don't know if it was good. It was women dressed as French maids explaining stuff, right?
Yep. That's so old school.
That was on Blip or something like that, right? Remember Blip TV?
Yeah. Was it just
you guys are just waiting for me to comment on that.
No.
Like you're just waiting.
In the early days of podcasting, there was a lot of experimentation, I would say.
Yes, a lot of weird stuff. He tried
a lot of weird stuff. Remember Tiki Bar TV? That was great. Loved that. That was video.
Well, I think video is a big trend these days. Like that video podcasts are a big trend.
We are now on doing video. We used to do only audio on Spotify. We now upload all our videos to Spotify.
Yeah. I worked for CNET in 2008. We were doing all of our podcast video already back then.
Yeah, well, that's because CNET was a television network.
CNET was CNET.
So they had all the equipment, right?
No, we had to build a new podcast studio. I had to build the studio. Yeah, we built the studio.
Yo, I was doing this mess when they had all the equipment in my living room. I had to make it. It wasn't, but it's still, I guess because my family owned an electronics store, so we had video cameras.
Had it all.
But still.
Well, that's cool.
It's always been easier because of this. Like I can see you guys when I'm talking to you. And that's different from just being in your ear, right?
According to YouTube, 31% of weekly podcast listeners choose YouTube as their preferred service. 27% Spotify, Apple Podcasts only 15%. Actually, that's not YouTube, that's Edison, which has been doing podcast metrics forever and ever, and I think is fairly reliable. YouTube would be, with 1 billion monthly podcast users, would be far bigger than Spotify, which all told had 675 monthly active users for music and video at the end of 2024.
So, Leo, how does this make you feel about the future of the podcast biz?
Podcasts are old hat.
Well, okay, we need a new word. Form. We need a new word, like a podcast video.
I was lobbying against the word podcast forever. Since 2005, I've been saying, what medium why would you call it a podcast? That's focusing on the fact that you're listening to it on an iPod. That's not what it's about.
How about
I wanted to call them netcasts because you get them over the
netcasts you love
over the internet.
You hate.
Yeah.
But okay, I have a different idea. How about we just call it TV?
Yeah. Or not even TV. They're shows.
It's video.
And you consume them in a variety of ways. You might listen. People probably listen to them on the telephone. I don't know. There's lots of ways to consume it. And you shouldn't focus on how it's getting delivered. You should focus on the fact that it's of its content, what it's delivering. And
so if they filled the Colosseum in Rome with people and they played Twitch in the middle, what would you call it?
Yeah, a podcast.
Yeah.
I would call it, are we not entertained?
I think it's the format.
ArenaCast.
Like podcast is just, it's a format now. It's not really, it's like a genre. So it's not really a method of delivery or anything like that.
I wish the
genre.
name had died. It's not a good name, especially
the
iPod is gone.
Benito on high. I got to say
Benito on high.
I agree with you.
Not many shows have a Benito on high, so that's
as a person who was doing music back in the day. Like I hated the conversation where some people call it rap and some people call it hip hop. Right? Like they're the same, but they're not. But hip hop is the overarching culture. And one of the styles of music in there is rap, but there's a bunch of other styles of music in there as well. And it was always that fight for the definition. So I kind of agree with you. It's more of a genre than anything else.
I still think we need a new word for the video podcast.
It's a show. Mock show. It's a show.
We're back to talk shows. It's a talk show.
It's a
show with talking.
This is basically talk radio.
Yeah, we're doing talk radio. Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
I like vodcasts. It's my favorite word.
Vodcasts?
Video on demand, because I can listen to it when I feel like it.
What about Pidio?
Welcome to our Pidio.
Kind of sounds a little too much like a pedio.
Let's see what else is going on. Are you going to watch the Oscars tonight? We're going to get out of here because it's I think the show's already begun. Conan O'Brien on it. There's there's controversy about a number of the nominees for Best Picture. Here's what's an interesting one. The Brutalist, which starred, I thought was quite wonderful, Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones as Hungarian refugees after World War II who escaped the Nazi death camps and managed to make it to America, where he became an architect. Well, he was an architect, where he resumed his career as an architect. They speak Hungarian to each other. And even though they had dialogue coaches, they wanted to make the Hungarian that they were speaking more accurate. So they used an AI tool from a Ukrainian specialist called Respeecher to tweak Brody and Jones' Hungarian dialogue in the film to make it sound more authentic. That has sparked outrage among the ancients who run the Hollywood that they would dare use AI in any form or fashion. In fact, some suggested it should disqualify it for awards consideration. There's so much fear of AI in Hollywood, isn't there, right now, among creatives in general?
There is. And I feel like the industry is very much going towards at least some part of the movie is made with technology. It is technology. I mean, however you make it, it's technology.
We had visual effects for such a long time, right?
Yeah.
Nobody is outraged because something is shot in front of a green screen or something like that.
Right.
Oh, where's the real art here? Or I don't know.
Right.
Much of the film's dialogue is in Hungarian, and apparently and I don't speak Hungarian, but the Hungarian that Brody and Jones speak is very accurate. It's a difficult language to pronounce, and they were able to do it. By the way, it's a 3.5, it's 3 hours and 20 minutes, very long. There is a mandatory 15-minute intermission in the middle. It's that long. Wow. Only cost $10 million to make. It was kind of for a Hollywood film, that's a low budget film.
Yeah. Extremely low.
It was shot on VistaVision. When the movie came on, I watched it at home. I didn't go to the theater. It said VistaVision. I thought, wow, I didn't even know that was still around. I found out though. I watched an interview with a cinematographer from Vanity Fair, and he said all VistaVision is 35 millimeter film like you would use in your camera, turned on its side so it's wide, And so normally film cameras, I guess, run up and down. I didn't know this. That makes sense. They've got a spool and it goes through the sprocket like this. They run it this way. The spools are on the side and they run it across. So it's still 35 millimeter, but it's wide angle. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous film with a really interesting soundtrack. And I don't think that a little bit of AI to make the Hungarian sound better is. Oh, wait a minute. There was also some generative AI used for a sequence at the end of the film.
But I think also just to generate a couple of buildings or something like that.
Architectural
essentially
drawings.
Assets or so that they would use.
Because they had drawings at the, I don't think it'll spoil it to say at the end is a retrospective of his work as an architect. And they have drawings and they were not drawn by a human, but they were generated.
I mean, I do think there is some line, like the deepfakes in Hollywood are an issue. Like, okay, there's a Formula One movie coming out, Brad Pitt stars in it. If we found out that the Brad Pitt we were looking at was actually just an AI recreation of him,
that'd be creepy.
I feel like we'd be like violated as viewers. We'd be like, wait, what the heck? We would feel betrayed. So there is some line, but what you're describing, I don't think crosses it. And as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You're right. You definitely don't want to, I don't know. Like, it's just so weird because we watch so many things, and a lot of us, especially the nerds, like, you ask any of us our favorite movies, we're like Star Trek, Star Wars, like all kinds of sci-fi oriented things. Tron, even the CGI, like the movie wouldn't happen without it. So
you couldn't do Tron without some sort of special effects.
I don't think that's us though. And I like what Sam just said. The reason why they're mad is because they only spent $10 million and they're nominated. Everybody else's budget was way higher.
Well, if you want the real deal, you should go to Netflix House. Yanko, tell us about Netflix House.
Yeah, so that's actually something that's going to come later this year. Netflix is opening 2 locations in malls where you can go, and there's going to be a restaurant, there's going to be live experience, so you can play a Squid Game without dying, and then you can go to a store and buy also some merchandise for your favorite Netflix shows. It's basically like a mini theme park in a mall, which is really interesting, and Netflix has sort of worked its way towards this. They had some pop-ups around a bunch of shows like Stranger Things. They had a pop-up restaurant that just opened in Las Vegas, a permanent restaurant called
Netflix Bites.
Yeah. You can go there and have
at the MGM Grand. I want to go there.
You can buy your chicken and waffles there with like 11 Stranger Things tie-in somehow.
So it's food from Netflix shows?
Yeah, essentially. It's all themed around Netflix shows.
Well, wait a minute. I want to see the menu. Let's see. Our menu.
That's cool.
I am kind of hungry right now.
It's a well-designed. I know it's getting to be.
You could go for a Fab 5 avocado delayed or a Queen Charlotte's fruit tree.
Oh, that's from Bridgerton, right? I don't know what the Fab 5 is.
Yeah. An egg
beef and eggs.
but essentially, so I wrote about this for Sherwood News. They're building this whole live experiences business, but they're doing it different than Disney does, because Disney has the big theme parks that are billions of dollars of build-outs, and Netflix does these small things like in a mall, relatively cheap because malls have too much space to give away now, and
true,
it's potentially a lot more scalable, where you could have one of these in every city essentially, and then you can go to your Netflix house after you watch a movie or whatever during the weekend. And so it's a very different model. I called it the anti-Disneyland, but I think it's a smart model where they really like get, instead of going to Disneyland once or twice in your life, or maybe a few more times, but many people go only once, I guess, you could go to this multiple times per year, and they can like swap out things and really make this sort of a more like a movie theater experience essentially.
Isn't that funny? You don't go to a movie theater to see the show, but you will go to a venue to experience the tea. Regency tea from Bridgerton with finger sandwiches, scones, and pastries themed to the favorite families of the ton. I get it. You call Bridgerton the ton. Served with a paper menu designed by Lady Whistledown herself. Wow.
Netflix is apparently very confident their shows are going to be good in 5 years from now, which I am not so confident.
They made some very good movies, and yet to have won Best Picture. Roma was amazing. I mean, so many good movies coming out of Netflix. They spend a lot of money, but Hollywood, guess what? Doesn't want to give them an award. They're trying to save movie theaters. I think it's too late. Hey, we have to take one more break before we wrap it up and let you go watch the Oscars and let you go have something to eat because I know it's late in New Jersey. It's great to have you here, though. Thank you, Emily, and of course, and Yanko and Doc. It's good to have all three of you. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN. Have you ever browsed in incognito mode? You know, it's probably not as incognito as you think. Google just settled a $5 billion with a B dollar lawsuit after being accused of secretly tracking users in incognito mode. Google's defense? Oh, incognito doesn't mean invisible. In fact, all of your online activity is still 100% visible to third parties, even in incognito mode, unless you use ExpressVPN. That's the one I use, the only one I trust. And you better believe, when we were traveling, went down to Santa Fe for the GEM show, you get to the airport and it says, free airport Wi-Fi. Do you kind of get a squeamish feeling using that, right? Like, how safe is this? Well, I used my iPad, fired up ExpressVPN, and used the airport Wi-Fi. And I forgot to turn it off, and I got to the hotel. I was still using it. Good news. I'm safe in the hotel Wi-Fi, in the coffee shop, in other countries. I love having ExpressVPN on all my devices. Everybody should. Why does everyone need ExpressVPN? Well, without ExpressVPN, third parties, even if you're using SSL, can still see every website, especially in incognito mode. And when I see third parties, I mean your internet service provider or mobile network provider, the people adminning the SFO free Wi-Fi, they know exactly what you're doing. And guess what? It's legal for them to capture it and sell it on. And they do. It's a profit center. Why do you think the Wi-Fi is free at the airport? Why is ExpressVPN the best? Of course, it hides your IP address, routes 100% of your traffic through secure encrypted servers. They're all over the world. I think over 100 countries now. Very easy to use. I use it on iOS, Android, Linux, Macs, Windows. You can even use it on your routers. And it's so fast, nobody's going to say, oh, it's so slow now. What's going on? You won't know. Like I said, I accidentally left it on the whole trip because I didn't even notice the slowdown. I was downloading stuff, iOS updates and stuff, 100 megabytes a second. I mean, it was incredible. Just fire up the app, click one button, you'll be protected. And it's on every device, phone, laptop, tablets. Stay private on the go. Rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. It's the only one I use. Protect your online privacy today. Visit expressvpn.com/twit. That's EXPRESS VPN.com/twit. If you go there right now, you'll get an extra 4 months free when you buy a 2-year package. It's a great deal. expressvpn.com/twit's the only one I use. Let's see. Final stories here. A small microbial system is formed on the International Space Station. Maybe we don't want to go into that so much. Did you watch the moon landing last night at midnight? Firefly? I didn't stay up till midnight, but very cool. You know, you did know that there was a lunar lander last night that landed on the moon, right? No. We don't care about space anymore. Elon notwithstanding. The Blue Ghost lunar lander was launched January 15th. It landed last night in the Mare Crisium, a region on the moon's near side. 10 NASA instruments aboard, including a drill to assess thermal flow and an electrodynamic dust shield. Firefly is the first private company to successfully land on the moon. Blue Ghost Mission 1.
So when they did the launch, we had just got to Orlando for this podcast event, and Ken was trying to get me to go with him, and I was like, dude, I just flew like 17
I'm tired.
hours.
I want to go to bed.
Right?
Here's a picture. This is its shadow.
Boston to there, but he went and watched it. I'm like, no, I'm not getting up.
It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're back on the moon. There it is.
You see that Bezos sending his new wife to space? all-female crew.
I want to make a terrible joke
Luthor,
about
right?
her, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say, good, have a good time. He's not going. They're not going into orbit. Right?
Yeah, I don't know what.
No, it just goes up and down. That's the one Shatner went on. It just goes up and down.
Really? Yeah.
Gets pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like that it's all like, oh, it's an all-female crew. It's kind of like, I don't really think that your husband funding this. I mean, we could go into that, but I don't think she's a feminist icon because she's I mean, enough said.
If it was actual astronauts, it would be a little bit, would be a different story.
Yeah, I just going to the moon in an all-female crew. It's like, okay, you're not inspiring me.
So the crew includes, by the way, not just Lauren Sanchez, Katy Perry, Gayle King from CBS Mornings, your colleague, Aisha Bowe, who's a former NASA rocket scientist, Amanda Wynn, who's a bioastronautics research scientist, and Carrie Ann Flynn, who's a film producer. It will launch in the spring, the 11th human flight for New Shepard. I'm not going to make the obvious joke that the New Shepard looks somewhat phallic. So I'm just not going to make that joke. Okay.
I think you just did.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
It does though, doesn't it?
They all do.
Well, no, this one more than. All right. I should probably.
I'm glad Restream is down.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to show you a picture of the New Shepard rocket. And you tell me if you feel like.
No, I think you need to describe why you think it looks phallic.
I mean, I agree. All rockets are roughly that shape.
Yeah, but what are the details you have in mind?
Rockets are a common name brand used for such.
No, it's not because of that. Let me find a good picture of it so you can.
Guys, you're not helping.
Did you know that the rocket company when we were kids?
What does that look like to you there?
It looks like a rocket.
Looks like every other
Estes model rocket sells a model version of the Blue Origin.
Oh yeah, you can get a model one. It's an Estes rocket kit. I love those. Those are so much fun.
I used to play the heck out of those things. They had the first one that had a payload. It had like a little clear tube. You could put stuff in it, and I put cockroach in it.
The first cockroach in space.
It was super dumb.
Did you recover the cockroach after the launch?
No, because you know what the hardest part is? Like, if those things caught a wind, you had to go too far to pick them up. So
they go way down, straight down.
Just leave it and then go buy another one next
Maybe it's
week.
still up there somewhere. Who knows?
It still is. The cockroach said, "Wow, that was a trip. That was wild."
What we eventually ended up doing was putting the rocket motors on model cars and just running them straight across the parking lot, which is also stupid. Almost started a couple fires.
That they go really fast, don't they?
Yeah, it's really fast until they hit a bump because the ground ain't smooth, and then it's just a mess.
All right. All 50 states have now introduced right to repair legislation. It hasn't passed everywhere, but I feel like the right to repair movement has really gotten a lot of traction. I think that's great. The time has come, right? Wisconsin on Thursday became the final state in the country to introduce a right to repair law. So far, laws have been passed in Massachusetts, New York, Minnesota, California, Colorado, and Oregon. Here's the map from iFixit. Actually, this is from 404 Media, but the map I think was generated by iFixit. The dark red is current, active and past. The pink is historic, and the black is past. I don't know why I can't read this map. I don't know what it means. But anyway, that's good.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we think it is time to conclude this gripping edition of This Week in Tech. Emily Forlini writes for PC Magazine. Not just cars anymore, though, yeah? Everything.
Everything. All emerging tech topics.
Yeah. Do you drive an EV?
No.
Do you have a gas vehicle?
Gas vehicle.
Are you interested in driving an EV? Since you cover them.
I mean, I've driven so many. I get press cars all the time and stuff. They're so nice.
I love it. Once you drive an EV, it's hard to drive a gas vehicle. To be honest.
I just think in a cold area like I live, I think if it's my only vehicle, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Emily Forlini now on all the socials. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to plug? What is that orange thing behind you? I've been dying to know what that is.
I bought that to be an intriguing object.
It is intriguing.
Specifically.
It looks like a Dyson TikTok machine or something.
It's so dark in that corner.
Yeah, you need to hit it with a light.
Yeah, if you want it to be intriguing. If you back off, it's your shadow. Back up and we can see it. Ooh. Yeah, see? What does it do?
It's a lamp. Hold on.
It's Intrigue lamp.
It is a weird looking lamp. Where does the light come from?
It's not charged right now. But
is it in the thing?
What?
Plug it in.
Wait a minute. So they're magnets. They're magnetic.
I got this from the MoMA Design Store, which I really recommend if you're looking for like cool household objects.
Oh, I see. It glows around the ring, and then it has two magnetic balls in the middle.
That turn it on and off.
Oh my God.
Need.
That is cool.
Yeah. So
that's a work of art.
Like if you want to, for your setup or your, anything, kitchen, home, they just have tons of cool stuff.
It's intriguing.
At the design store. Yeah. And I wanted an intriguing object. So I'm so glad you were intrigued.
I was. Thank you, Emily.
Yes.
Doc Rock's studio full of intriguing objects.
Yeah, I'm intriguing. Every time I go to Japan, especially in Kyoto, one of my favorite places, the MoMA Design Store, it is so crazy. You can find the coolest things there. So now I'm in trouble because I'm going shopping.
Uh-oh. Are those lights behind you synchronized to your voice? It feels like,
sir.
They are.
They are.
Oh, that's really cool.
They're Govee curtain lights, but now they just came out with a new model that is actually 9 feet. So I can cover the whole wall.
Fill up the wall.
I'm going to get rid of these and get the new ones. I just looked it up yesterday.
I'm so tempted to just add more and more things behind me. And I'm just going to stop because I think it's just, I want to keep it the way it is. It's just nice. Doc Rock is, of course, on YouTube, youtube.com/Doc Rock. He's also Director of Strategic Partnerships at Ecamm. We're very grateful to Ecamm. They make the software that we use to switch the show remotely. Benito is running Ecamm as we speak. Thank you, Doc.
Hi. You must address him properly. It's Benito.
Benito on high.
Don't get it twisted.
Benito on high.
Put some spec on his name.
Mahalo, Doc. Aloha.
Let's repent.
Thank you.
I am Benito on high. Yanko Records has a great, and I highly recommend it, newsletter called Low Pass. It's at lowpass.cc. There is a free tier, so you don't have to pay. But
there's a free tier. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to just paste the link for a 1 month free trial into the chat. So if you want to try it out, give it a try. And if you
for our club members, give the club members a little bonus there. Their 1 month free trial. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Sure thing.
SFBA.social. He's on the Mastodon at JANK0 because he's elite. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
20-some-year-old elite.
Very elite.
I guess I want to plug. I'm looking for Blue Sky followers. And I would like to connect with people on Blue Sky. I still go on X a couple times a week, so you can follow me there too. But
don't. Just don't. I like Blue Sky. It's everything Twitter used to be.
Yeah,
right?
like I'm excited about connecting with people on Blue Sky, and some people I've followed recently through my work or my podcast appearances, like I do keep up with, and like they comment on my stuff, and I talk to them, and it's just been fun. So I guess I'll plug, like, if you want to follow me on Blue Sky, I'd love to see you there.
Good. Emily Forlini, let me do this. EMILYFORLINI.
Yeah, do you
and
follow
there
me,
she
Leo?
is, .bsky.social, emerging tech reporter for PC Magazine.
That's
nice. Former Amazon person. And I'm not following you. I'm going to follow you right now. Look at that.
Ooh, so exciting.
Make Blue Sky better by following the good people. Yeah. I think it's getting very close now to being a good Twitter replacement. Are you on Blue Sky, Doc Rock?
Yes, I am.
What's your? Is it just Doc
learn
Rock?
how to type Forlini, even though I know how to type. My fingers were not behaving.
FORLINI.
I'm gonna follow
Yes,
you. Right
I am Doc Rock at BSky.social.
There are a lot of Doc Rocks on here.
Yeah, those guys are not me.
This is the real Doc Rock, content coach, podcaster, whiskey and coffee lover. There you go. Am I following you? Let me see. Yes,
I hope so.
And Yanko, is it just Mastodon for you, or do you also?
I'm also on Blue Sky, and I'm not super active, but same name with the 0, also on Blue Sky. That from my old Twitter days.
I don't feel a strong need for a Twitter replacement, but if I did, this is a very weak endorsement. If I did feel a strong need for a Twitter replacement, it would be Blue Sky. How about that? He is there, right there, Yanko Reckers.
There he is. I mean, I feel like we could just take a break from social media as well, but
yeah. Oh, I'm not following you either. I better follow you.
We're going to be on it. That's the place I find the least.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now,
as it matures, it's getting more of the negatives of the old Twitter as well as the positives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's life.
We're having fun for the moment, and we'll see what the next thing is. And
well, there's a good reason to ask, because I'm about to go watch the Oscars. I'll be tape delaying it, I guess, because I missed the first hour. But I like to watch. I used to love to watch Twitter while I was watching the Oscars, and that I'm not going to do with Twitter.
If you tape delay it, the best choice is Threads, because they're only going to have the updates tomorrow. So you're going to be ahead of time there.
I'll watch it tomorrow and use a live feed on Threads. That's a good idea. Thank you, Yanko. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Doc Rock. Thank you all for watching. A special thanks to our club members. You got a little benefit there with that free month of lowpass.cc. Our club is $7 a month. It gets you ad-free versions of all of our shows. It also gets you access to the Discord and a lot more fun. We had Stacy's book club last week. Micah's Crafting Corners coming up. Thursday, we're going to do our photo segment with Chris Marquardt. All of that just as a way of thanking you for doing what the club does so well, which is support our network. If you'd like to know more, twit.tv/clubtwit. If you want to watch live, we lost the stream halfway through. Restream somehow cut us off for most of the streams. I think TikTok and the Discord were still up. But if you do want to watch live, normally you can on all of those 8 channels, YouTube, Twitch, X.com, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kick, and of course in our Club Twit Discord every Sunday afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC. But you don't have to watch live, because we are, what did we decide to call it? A vodcast? We are
We're a pidio.
We're a pidio. You can watch the pidio, whatever that is, by either going to the website. You'll find out
what it is.
That's the whole idea. We don't know.
Yeah.
You go to the website, twit.tv, or the YouTube channel dedicated to This Week in Tech, or best thing, get your favorite pidio player. They used to call them podcast players. And subscribe. You can do it on YouTube too. Subscribe, and that way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available, just in time for your Monday morning commute. Next month, our 20th anniversary. That's pretty exciting. It's a long time to be doing video. If you want to celebrate with us, do we have anything planned? I don't think we do, Benito on High. I think we have to plan something for April, 15th. But I have to say good night now. And as I have said for the last 20 years at the end of every show, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
This is amazing.